evening, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Good lad? Awesome. All right, you want to take it?
Go for it.
Good evening. Welcome to the September 3rd meeting of the Facilities Improvement Committee. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dan, you got attendance going?
I'm working on it right now.
Nice.
Then you said you sent an agenda?
It was attached to the meeting notes. I have it up on the board.
All right, so my counterpart here is much better at making meeting agendas than I am. So we actually have a timed agenda for
Last I
today.
checked.
I heard from Hudson.
Yeah.
He said you'd like it.
And the primary focus of today's meeting is going to be to get the survey stuff ready, because time is coming quickly for us to try to execute that. So we're going to start with the final review of the survey, correct?
Yes, sir. I'll pull it up now.
Point of clarification, you still want me to take notes?
Please.
Okay.
That's actually interesting. Shouldn't we review the minutes and have those approved each time?
I mean, I don't know, are we bound to do that?
Well, there were some things that.
I guess I would think so.
The problem is
Then we have to have Jen sort of
yeah.
send them out.
I put them in the folder, they're in the folder.
So we can ask that, we have a meeting tomorrow,
Yeah, we'll ask that tomorrow.
so.
All right, so with respect to the survey, I just want to start off by saying,
Ask a question?
yeah.
Which copy of the survey are we actually reviewing right now?
I have the one that Joe pulled up.
This is the final after I cleaned up all the edits that were put through.
Is that the one you sent to me?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
Is this the one that just came out half an
Yes.
hour ago?
yes.
So
Yeah.
with respect to this survey, I just want to be clear, aside from we are going to take a vote on one question, other than that, this is to read through for really just grammar and readability. We're not making changes, yeah.
There was one question which I don't think was actually passed, that was included in the most recent.
Yeah, so I replied to your email, so
No, there was actually a second one, the last question as well as question 8.
No, it was, so like, when I went through it, I went through all the votes and edits on the actual sheet, so anything that's in here was all, the majority of the people that edited were for it, and if the majority were not for it, it's not in here.
That's what was given out over the last few weeks was
So I
to
mean,
add
we can
it.
go back and check, but I believe
I
that,
was under the impression no questions actually got added to it. That they
So
were voted down
that
from
is-
something you had emailed me.
So what Matt is talking about is the question that was brought up over the last week is we wanted to do a vote of everybody here to add that last question to it.
When we come to the question, I'll ask again.
Okay.
So aside from that question and the last question,
questions.
we're not looking to make substantive changes to the questions. This is more for readability, grammar, stuff like that. Does someone from do you want someone from communications to go through it, or how do you want to do it?
I would prefer if the communications group went through it. I've got it up on the screen and I can scroll when needed.
Joe, do you want to?
I mean, do we want to read it word for word? I mean,
Surprise.
or is it something where you just want to highlight the changes? I'm kind of losing my voice, so I don't want to read it word for word. If someone else wants to take that.
So we have 30 minutes, so whatever's going to be.
I'd say let's not do word for word. We can look for where it is in the survey and for grammar and readability.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so this main paragraph.
Sorry, can I just ask a question? I had some questions that I don't think in the edits, there was a lot of back and forth. And very few people out of the committee actually provided comments, whether it's because it was too cumbersome or whatever. but there are a few points that I would like to have the committee's input on, a couple of questions.
So we are at a point with this survey where the survey as drafted is going to be what's put forward, and we have one question on here which was one of your points that you wanted to, that you would question, which we're including for a vote from the rest of the committee today.
Well, can I just bring up one point then?
Depends on what it is and how far it's gonna take us off course.
There's a reference in the introduction to deferred maintenance. But there is no question in the survey about would you support spending money for deferred maintenance.
Wasn't that one of the edits that was added to,
Yes.
so it's in one of the paragraph edits for one of the questions, deferred maintenance was added to it.
So I think, what if we just go through the agenda?
Yeah.
and-
Can I
and-
bring up one other question, sort of to piggyback on Ron's? I didn't love the process,
No, I didn't either.
and I don't want to see the process used again. Not all of us are engineers, not all
Yeah.
of us have ever used the software.
Yes, I struggled with it as well.
Joe heard from me.
No,
It's all right. We worked through it though.
We did.
We got it.
I agree, and I'm sorry. And I worked with Jason to figure out that almost everybody was listed as a viewer, except for school board members. So I went back and I made everybody a commenter and a, what was the editor, content manager, whatever it was. So I had to go through and do that. That's when you and Jason were having troubles adding comments.
I'm not even sure I voted correctly. Or my vote was ever in there.
Yeah,
I saw all your edits.
I think I
My
did that
edits
too.
were there, and
Denise.
I actually voted.
I saw mine.
I couldn't see it again, when I looked later on, it was gone.
No, I saw all yours.
Yeah, my understanding is that
I
Joe,
didn't see yours.
if someone
Resolves
resolves
it,
all of that.
Yep, I went
Yeah.
through everybody's edits that were in there. I saw Ron's, I saw yours, I saw yours. I saw everybody's edits, and anytime there was a addition or a question, I tallied up the agrees, disagrees, and people's comments and said, all right, that's either in or out, and it stayed or got removed.
We sort of had a meeting offline.
yep.
That doesn't sit well.
You what?
It doesn't sit well with having meetings offline, not in the public.
Well, we can only have so many public meetings, so I understand that people are not thrilled with this process, but look, we're doing
We
our
gotta get
best.
work done.
Right, we just gotta get stuff done, so, I mean, if we wanna start having 4-hour FIC meetings, we can do that. I can tell you, the school board during budget season, we're there till midnight, I don't really have the bandwidth to do that. If you guys wanna do that, that's fine, we can figure it out. You wanna do that.
Dude, we used to meet twice a week and go to 11, so
Yeah.
you're really talking to the wrong guy.
All right, let's get through this.
Every minute of it.
Alright, so the beginning paragraphs up on the screen, paragraphs, introduction.
Can I just ask, what's the situation that, at GMS that led to the warrant article? What is that implying? Is it the need for a new school? Is it the need for,
I think
Schools
you
be
should say what the
repaired.
concerns associated with GMS. And
Yeah.
The situation, yeah, I don't know.
because the situation at GMS, the town was sold on a bill of goods that the school is run down, it's gonna be condemned, this, that, and the other, had to be replaced. And I don't think that, I still don't believe that that's the issue.
Yeah, if you wanna edit right in there. and-
I thought we addressed that word the last time, the last meeting.
It's possible I missed it too, so I'm fine
I don't
changing that.
remember
I don't
Yeah.
have a problem changing that.
Which word are you talking about?
The first paragraph, where it says the situation that led to
Okay.
GMS.
So it's amended to concerns.
Yeah,
Get rid of the S on remains too, please.
The second paragraph, should building administration be added in there as well? Not saying that we're important, but I think that's important that you're consulting outside of just community. Does that make sense? I know we're not members, but we're
You're here.
here for a purpose.
and you-
While it's not filled, technically, we do also have an unfilled faculty spot, so perhaps diversifying and saying school personnel.
so in the school board budget committee and board of selectmen group, add school
I would put
personnel?
us last, but yes.
I'm working on getting us a faculty rep.
That's a good ad, I like that.
Oh, Carrie's here. How'd you sneak in quietly?
That might be the first time you've up and noticed at a meeting.
That's called the Irish hello.
Yeah, she's present, all right.
I had lots of energy all day, I was like, well, I have to recharge.
In the third paragraph, there's a reference to only addressing deferred maintenance, which is good being in there, but I don't see that as a question.
You had asked for deferred maintenance being added.
Pardon me?
It was added to a question.
I actually made it a question.
So it's possible that
Renovations.
that edit made it to the paragraph, but then was not supported in the adding of a full question. So
Okay,
that either we want to take it out of the paragraph or add the full question
right.
is probably what happened there.
Can I just make a point of that, and I'll give you the reason? Is if you look at,
There's Rich.
oh, good. If you remember what Carl Barker presented, our renovations options is $26 million, correct? The H.L. Turner report looked at deferred maintenance. What did it do?
Can we just, can we go through the questions and then see if there's a
If
need
there's a
to
place
even?
that, like, I would prefer to see it add as an option to an existing question as opposed to
Yeah.
another question. Because like, I think the survey is getting a little long, and we're gonna get some people that are gonna balk at even filling it out. Because on paper, when you print this out, it's like 5 pages.
Well, but it's one
Good evening,
question,
Rich.
and it's a significant one. And the
Good
reason
But it's
being,
one question, and then one question, and then one question. And by the time you're done, you're at 15, 20 questions.
just let me finish my thought. The renovation option, which was presented by Barker, is 26.
Oh, yep.
The deferred maintenance from the H.L. Turner, which would bring the school up to a state of good repair, is currently, in today's dollars, $3.5 million, which includes the sprinkler system.
Okay, let's go through the
Yeah.
questions, please.
So that's the difference between deferred maintenance and renovation.
All right, so the first question, Joe, was
Hold on, let me go.
about, best way to communicate. I think,
That's our biggest lead off. The most important question we get out of anybody is how best to communicate with you.
I think that covered a wide array of options, so I didn't have any. Did anyone else have any?
I would suggest to the left of that, put in a first, second, third, and other options so you could check it. Or that question, the next one, just to make it easy.
Yeah, so they'll be, when we set this up is like a,
These never your top 3 choices, one being the best way for us to communicate with you.
yeah, when we set this up as a digital format, like, there's an option that you can rank
That'd be great.
options. So in a printed form, it'll be more, we'll make them more of, instead of dots, we'll make them like check boxes and people can put in numbers that,
Yeah, because that's in the
Prefer that
question. It's actually in the question.
what's that?
I say it's asked,
Yeah, yeah.
them to do that in the
It's
question.
more of a formatting thing when it's the final draft, but
That's what I meant.
we can work on that.
So, am I adding anything or?
No.
No? All right.
The only thing is, I'm not sure that digitally you can actually rank.
You can.
You can choose 3.
Could have a table in the left of it.
Oh,
okay.
I mean,
I'll figure it out, yeah.
We can figure
In
it out.
SurveyMonkey, you're allowed to rank 3 and we'll
Okay.
erase the rest if you're using SurveyMonkey.
All right, question 2.
Thoughts on why the warrant did not pass? The third question, the proposed location of the ball field was deemed unacceptable. I don't know if we should say, I think we should take out deemed. I think we should say was unacceptable, because I don't want them to think.
Somebody else made that decision?
Right.
Oh, we're going too far.
And if they were voting no, I think they were voting no because it was unacceptable to
Yeah,
them. and
Third
that's-
bullet.
Third bullet.
Third bullet, not third question.
Third bullet,
Okay.
and second question, yeah.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. That's a good edit.
Remember this, we're asking them their opinion.
Right. Yeah, I think if you take out deemed, then it doesn't, there's no question as to whether
It doesn't lead
a
someone to think
third
somebody
party
else.
deemed it
Yeah.
Okay,
unacceptable.
that's fine, I have no
I
problem.
can't read very quickly. I think we were supposed to put in also overrun of the LMS project.
It's on there.
It's on there.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
The LMS project cost overrun
Fifth
is
bullet.
the
Okay.
fifth bullet.
And just grammar on the is that's underlined, that should be are, because thoughts are plural.
My wife actually copied it.
Mine is 2 for grammar.
Right there.
Even
One
my
card.
my
Nice.
students in my lab said, why are you grading my grammar in my lab? It's 'cause it drives
I think
me
you guys
crazy.
covered
Could be
a good,
influence, yeah.
good base of what we'd expect, and there's an option for someone to put in other as well, which I like.
Yep.
All right, the third question.
Could that mean all the above?
Yeah, 'cause I think you can check all that apply, yeah. It says check all that apply.
Yeah,
so
you can circle all of them if you want.
We know how Bob's gonna answer that. Let's see,
Hey, I didn't make the snowball, I just returned the throw.
Caught it and threw it back.
okay,
Present
so
company excluded.
the, question number 3, determining solution for future needs of an elementary school, what should we prioritize? And this is gonna be,
It's kind of a 3-part question where you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So how does this message strongly agree
That's-
to both,
to
on
all
all
of
of
them.
the above? Like, well, then,
Then you're really answering the third question is strongly agree. 'Cause it says
then
that,
it kind of skews the numbers then.
I'm okay if you just take out strongly agree, and just do which of these of the 3. But
you gotta give them,
hadn't.
so like we talked about this last time, right? You wanna give people 4 options, because if you give them 3, they're always gonna pick the middle.
No, I would just put low-cost options should be top priority, educational needs should be top priority.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Pick one of these 3
Right.
points instead of the
I think
4
it's just-
options.
Or should you just rank them?
Yeah,
It needs to be
because
something,
otherwise you can
You're gonna
choose
skip-
That's
strongly
fine.
agree on
Yeah.
all of them.
and then it skews the data as to which one truly is the strongest priority.
so do we wanna turn this into just
Another ranking
the
one.
3 and just rank them?
Yep.
Yeah,
Well, you don't even need a ranking. It's A, B, or A and B, right?
Yes.
So it's either the lowest cost is most important to you, or educational needs is the most important, or you think they're both equal.
okay, right, good point.
Pick your favorite.
I don't know why you wouldn't just say disagree or agree to any of the questions.
We wanted a ranking so that we could do more in-depth analysis, is my understanding.
Okay.
Because if everybody put disagree, or strongly disagree across the board, then there's no solutions.
Well, I would just mean.
I mean, I can tease the
agree
data
or-
out of
or
it,
disagree.
but that's.
Take the strongly away and just, yes or no, whatever, that's fine.
All right, so prior to the 4, 5, and 6, we have a preamble.
Can I just ask if anybody's speaking, can you just say your name before you speak so that I can make sure that I'm typed? Because I'm not looking up necessarily to see where voices are coming from.
Yes, ma'am.
Please and thank you.
That was Dan.
That was Dan.
Which Dan?
Yeah, it's really hard because I'm trying to do initials and there's 2 DMs at the table, so that doesn't help either, so.
All right, any comments on the preamble?
So question 4 is where I think deferred maintenance was to be added to that question. Would you consider renovating GMS without adding an addition and renovating and addressing deferred maintenance at GMS without adding an addition? I think that's where we were missing it.
I
Well-
think you're expecting the general public to know a whole lot more about deferred maintenance than they probably really do. I think we're looking still from a bird's eye view of which are the top 2 or 3, and once we eliminate them down to the top 2 or 3, we could get into more of the minutia of how
Okay.
much it's gonna cost and what should we address.
Well, I have to disagree, because I think that's the crux of the matter, is all that's been presented to them is a high cost, either new building or a high cost renovation. And I think many people say, there's not that much bad with it, it can't cost that much to fix it. And that's deferred maintenance. And the H.L. Turner report says, including sprinkler systems and new HVA systems, in today's dollars, that figure is $3.5 million.
When
That's
was
a
the-
long way
that
from
was
26.
In 2017?
Correct.
Right.
And I escalated it based upon the federal price index to current dollars, and that's the figure I just gave you.
I mean, I
So-
think, I do agree that people are not gonna know the difference between, when we ask a question, people are not gonna know the difference between renovating and completing deferred maintenance.
Well,
I think that,
well,
Then I think then you definitely should split it. If you think it's gonna be confusing, you should definitely split the difference between renovation and catching up on all the maintenance.
Just fixing what you got versus, it's like going in and fixing a washing machine in a kitchen versus doing a gut job and doing a $30,000 rehab.
I don't think anyone has proven deferred maintenance is gonna fix all the problems we have at GMS.
Well, you haven't read the H.L. Turner report yet.
It definitely doesn't address any of the space issues, doesn't address any of the
There's
portables,
the
any of the
educational-
pull-outs.
Right.
It answers the question for the people who answered the prior question, that they strongly agree with cost and strongly disagree with educational outcomes.
Right.
I
I
would,
think if you want to balance it. I honestly have no issue, this is Marilyn, by the way, sorry.
Hi, Marilyn.
I have no issue with putting a question in that says, would you consider limiting improvements to GMS to just
Deferred maintenance.
deferred maintenance, or some other wording, I'm not married to that wording, but if you want to add that question to Ron's point, I think they are different things, and I think that most people are gonna be able to figure out what the difference between maintenance and renovation is.
All right, you had one?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
so
sir.
My name is Brian Carney. This is the first time I've been physically to a meeting. All due respect,
Nice to meet
I
you.
haven't been a part of it. I was on the first call. Life got in my way, so I couldn't make all the calls. So I'm not trying to step on toes. I don't know anyone's name, but I also feel as though I can supply something even though I don't have all the background. I think you're splitting micro hairs. A survey is to cast a large net, to gather as much as you can, pull it back in, and see what you get. Deferred maintenance reports, priced 7 years ago to compared now, you just need people to fill it out. That's just my opinion.
well, if I say renovation to you, what comes to your mind?
In the context of this school, simplified down to fixing the school.
For 26 million?
I don't, fix the school or build a school. There's two separate issues here.
No, and here's the problem, is renovation without any additional classrooms, as presented by Count Barker, a complete renovation, is a gut job, is $26 million.
I
So
completely understand.
here's, I'll give you a differentiating point.
Yeah.
Ron has proposed that we can fix the HVAC. One of the comments that's been brought up to that is, well, you're gonna be taking the ceilings down, so would you replace the ceilings,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and
You
I-
start to
I
get
kinda-
into, there's a level at which you get into a full renovation versus just fixing the HVAC and then putting up the old ceiling tiles again.
Yeah, and I don't want to go too far, I don't want to derail this by any stretch of the imagination. Looking what's on the screen, and in reference to what it is, the Barker report or any other reports are irrelevant to this question. Because those people don't have that information when they're answering this question.
Well, why would we even ask the question if they don't have enough
Because
information?
you want opinion, not their educated opinion. You just want their opinion based on what you're presenting them.
What you can move forward with.
Yeah,
Right.
people
What
can
their
make a
stomach-
decision by reading this
There's a lot of people.
and not ever read the Barker
So
report.
if we added one more, if we added another question before 4, that just said, would you consider, repairs only?
How about, would you consider spending funds on deferred maintenance?
What is deferred
I think
maintenance?
you should, I think it would be easier for people to understand if we said repairs only.
How about money to bring the, would you consider spending money for state of good repairs?
Still, it's
I
confusing.
I still think it's repairs only.
Yeah.
All right, so are we adopting it or are we voting?
For which one, this additional question?
Yes.
Because I have questions on the wording itself.
Of which-
Of the preamble or the?
Yes, it's just, so as a structural engineer, when I see structural items, I think building falling down. So I don't know if it could be worded as, we have identified concerns with the facilities and the educational spaces.
I thought we were changing that too.
Because it's structural to me is the frame of the building, it is not the electrical wiring. Like, it's
Yeah.
The bones of the skeleton versus,
Yeah,
so
what
to
we
me it's
changing
more
at the facility?
I would have made that edit on the doc.
I think we
So
made
it was-
it in the meeting.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
facility and
Yeah.
So
education.
that was Carrie's side, but, cause I think.
I got you, I got you.
Everybody,
It might have been that you took over the edits from
Yeah.
stuff and didn't get transferred over.
I think what was discussed in the meeting wasn't necessarily captured on the,
Correct.
on the
Yep.
document.
Then you have to change it in the next sentence too.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what, I knew I saw it twice.
Just the structural engineering, you just,
What if you didn't include that word at all? The items include, take out facility, take out structural. What if you just said the items include? What's your
basically
concerns?
at GMS, comment, including items such as.
If you take out the word facility in that sentence, I don't think you need facility at all.
No, we did that because the next sentence is educational. It parses out
It separates
what the
the two.
facility ones and what the
Yeah.
educational ones are.
I think you're fine.
Facility needs or facility focuses, foci?
Yeah.
Facility issues, yeah.
Alright. That didn't.
Yeah, fun, isn't it? It's walking through my head when I was trying to put this back together.
So,
Did you
okay,
get my edits, by the way?
No,
You're welcome.
that was.
so,
Have we voted on the next question?
so, okay, so I would, to pull it all together, I think if we were to add another question, I think what we should vote on is whether we would add a question that says, would you consider
performing repairs.
performing repairs only on GMS? Are we wanting, can we take a vote on that?
I'm sorry, and I guess this helps me because I'm a little ignorant on the conversation in the background, because treat me like the person filling this out. I haven't been to a single meeting. What is repairs? Like, there's just, it's such an open-ended question that there's no feedback that you can get from the Joe Schmo and the public that hasn't been in a meeting.
Yeah, I want you to repair the building.
Yeah.
I was gonna say yes to
But
that.
I think we addressed some of the concerns above it, right? So that would lead you to what the repair.
Okay, so if we're not building a new school, then the assumption is repairs are happening.
And repairing all those things in the above paragraph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, my understanding, isn't what's in that paragraph. It's something completely different.
I mean, so,
Oh, yeah, because it's got sprinklers and.
Yeah, it's,
Exactly.
again, not to say it again, but I think we're splitting hairs on what we're trying to, the feedback we're trying to get in the net.
I would suggest
Because I think that.
red and
might have to
maintenance
be
slash
that
repairs,
roof is
and if that
25 years
passes,
old.
bring
Well,
down.
the reason.
Those are drastically different though, I think.
Yeah, the problem is, and I get Ron's point, the problem is that what he's proposing, which, you know, whether you agree with it or not, what he's proposing is not, I mean, truly, like, go up in the ceiling, fix the HVAC, don't replace the ceiling tiles, like, it's, you know what I mean, so I think that if we're trying to get that, if we're trying to see how many people support that, I guess my concern is, we have a preamble to this, but there isn't a way to really tie the, you know, the fact that that does not, there's no impact on educational.
No.
If you do that.
I wanna, this is Joe, sir. Ask a question about the maintenance period, right? Like, does maintenance typically go to a warrant article? Let's say everybody says no to everything. New school, renovation, no, okay, they don't wanna do anything. Maintenance is still required of a school, right? Like, all this stuff should be in the school's maintenance plan. And does it ever end up on a warrant article to begin with?
You know, I mean,
They have done some things on warrant articles in the past.
they have paving.
but you actually make a good point, because the way that these are answered, if someone does not support any of these, they would say, would strongly not support, right?
And in my mind, if you don't support any of these larger options, maintenance should just happen. Like, I would expect maintenance to be happening. I would have expected all along that maintenance was happening, but it wasn't, obviously, and that's how we ended up where we are. But,
That's the problem.
right,
That's exactly the problem.
So,
I don't know if that ends up on a vote, right? When they're planning, let's say, we say, nope, the school board, there's no recommendation here, just do your maintenance. And they're gonna plan to do the HVAC system. Does the HVAC system end up on a warrant article for the town to vote on? Or does the school just put it in their budget? And then the whole budget ends up on the warrant article?
Well, the budget ends up on the warrant article anyway.
So the reality is, from a
But it
budget
should be on the
committee
warrant.
perspective, it would likely go to warrant simply because.
Separate from the school budget.
Simply because it will tank the school budget, and then you'll end up on a default and it won't get done anyway.
Okay, that's what I wanted to understand.
So logistically, it would, a project of that size is best put on a warrant, so you don't sink everything else.
So some of that stuff is on the CIP plan, the parking lot, things like that for the schools that would go to warrant, but Mr. O'Connell's trying to get us all sort of on a schedule where we have a 15 or 20-year plan that's gonna be on the capital improvement plan, but it will not be a surprise, or should not be as big a surprise for people that, hey, we need to spend
Uptime.
$300,000 to do the parking lot server, or replace the field, or replace the gym, or whatever.
Someone has been talking
But
about
we're
this.
a ways away from
Longer.
longer, so.
This,
And
so
there's
this
another-
question in my mind would be to say that we're gonna do this all at once. We're gonna do this in one big chunk instead of necessarily in a,
No.
Drawn out
no,
plan.
I don't think that says that.
So I think one way.
if you're asking to do all the deferred maintenance in one shot,
You don't have to.
well, that's what the question's asking me.
No, it didn't it didn't have any timeline associated with it.
But it's not saying I'm gonna break it up and say I'm gonna do this little piece this year, this little piece next year, like, that's a different
But
question.
I think we're getting to what Brian was saying, is that we're trying to split hairs.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
I think ultimately, if people say no to all of these options, the only option we will have is to continue to try to figure out how to maintain the building.
And to do repairs
Question
only.
here, so back in the day when we lost a significant amount of state funding and we had community forums, one of the question was, how much would you be willing to contribute? How much are you willing to see your taxes rise to pay for this? So perhaps some of these concerns can be captured in that, because if somebody says, I'm only willing to pay 2% more on my taxes, or they say, money is no object, that drastically changes the outcome.
Which
So
is what I
maybe-
think the previous question asked
Yeah,
about,
the
like, the
previous
super
question already
duper, right?
asked
Is
is-
lowest cost the most important thing to you, or is?
Yeah, but I could say I'm more focused on cost, but I'm still willing to pay a little more. Like, it's maybe a 60-40, like, it just,
Yeah.
and then you can also tailor it, like, okay, money's no object, but the majority of the people say, money's no object up to 5%. Like, it's,
I just don't know that the majority of people are gonna be able to equate what a 5%, like, you know what I
well,
mean?
100, like, so when you did the fire station, was what, $200, $100 a year for 15 years? Or something.
Alright,
Can I just bring up the goal of the survey when we sat down to write
Keep
it,
track of
was to address the
Trying.
9 questions.
Right, I agree.
Deferred maintenance was not one of the 9 questions. It was never part of the survey goal.
alright, so I think it's either we vote on this question or we move on.
Call the question.
Alright,
Not that I can call it, but you should call it.
alright, so I'm making a motion to add the question, would you consider performing repairs only to GMS?
A second.
I'll second the motion.
Second, third, all in favor?
I have a question.
Question for the
When you
question.
say only performing repairs, you have to be more specific. What repairs?
But I, it's,
You can't get into more-
we're starting to split.
You can't get in that level of detail on a survey, because people will just glaze over and they won't
Yeah, but
understand what you're talking about.
somebody might see it, the $26 million price tag.
Another person can think it's replacing floor tiles for
Yes,
$300.
exactly.
That's kind of my point.
You have to take, but you have to
All
take
these
it.
things have to be worked.
The whole point of this is going to be, it's Matt, by the way. The whole point of this is going to be looking at the questions together to see what you can take from that as well, right? So, we do have to, we can't split hairs. We can't go into an incredible
You get that
level
level
of
of
detail.
detail.
That would be
on a
like the
survey.
second, actually, the
How
second
many-
time around.
what was the
when
vote on
we
that?
Try to do public.
Do
it
it
again.
4,
Okay, I'll vote yes.
5 in favor, all those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 opposed, motion fails.
One thing I suggested, sorry, before you move on the issue of cost, I had suggested adding another option to the answers, instead of the strongly disagree, is need to know the cost to respond.
That was not supported in all the people that
Yeah, that was not
did the edits.
Yeah, I know, but not many people responded, so what do people think now?
You really can't do that. I didn't get a chance to weigh in, but it's a process.
We're
That's
supposed
my
to-
fault.
We're supposed to be doing spelling and grammatical errors.
Right,
like-
yeah, we're getting too
We're
deep
gonna move
here.
on.
Yeah, we passed that.
Right, so we have, would you consider renovating GMS without adding an addition as number 4? We have, would you consider renovating GMS and adding an addition as number 5 with the same 4 options? Number 6 is building a new school with the price significantly reduced.
Should we say original production or the 2024 warrant?
It wasn't the original one.
It says original projection, should we just name it
Yeah,
the
yeah,
2024
it's
warrant
specific.
price?
Yeah, because it was the
'Cause that's the number that's in that.
1980.
I think we need to reference last year's warrant article.
Was warrant Article 1?
No, it was warrant Article 2. Article 1 is the
Budget
budget.
was one.
But it's always warrant Article 1.
No, I thought all the
Bonds supersede budget.
Yes.
Yeah, the bond has
Just
one,
say warrant article?
because the bond
it
has
was
one.
one.
It was definitely 1, because I remember.
Bonds have
Okay,
to be in
you're
the
correct.
bond. I know. And I was like, oh yeah, no, you're right, bond was one. I've seen so many. of these.
Alright, on
So-
to the next preamble.
The comment on the next preamble, it's Matt, by the way, would be the part of the consolidation process does not necessarily include sending students out of district.
It says could.
Would may or may not be better.
May or may not.
I know could means the same thing.
My only concern is that in order to give like fair deference to this, if people latch on to, like when I initially read it, I didn't see the could, right? Like it didn't trigger me. And so I don't want people to be like, answer based solely off of, sending students out
I
of
like may or
district.
may not, may or may not, I think
What
is a good editor.
capitalize it?
Brian, you also have to remember that the entire preamble is about getting rid of a school. So no matter the one grammatical change on that, you gotta
I
remember
almost-
that it's creating a mindset to answer the next question.
I almost think that it should be removed from the preamble altogether, because there's a question in here that says, would you consider sending 9th through 12th grades out to an out-of-district high school? So I think we are going to ask that question specifically.
It was asked specifically to include in the
It
preamble.
doesn't necessarily
Yes,
have to
it
be a
was asked at the
consolidation either,
last
though.
meeting to include-
Consolidation maybe is the wrong word, this is Peter. Doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna be a consolidation. There's there's a way you could keep the 3 buildings and just put the people differently, and it's referenced with, 7th and 8th graders going to CHS, without having to lose a school. So losing a school isn't necessarily enough,
To restructure the
to
school?
restructure, might be a better.
About reallocate grades within the schools.
Yep, I think that was,
I think the questions do encompass
Consider.
the different options. I just wanna make sure that the,
No, in the preamble, instead of.
In the preamble.
Instead of consolidate,
Say
reallocate
restructure.
grades within
the 3 schools.
schools.
But why do you even need the paragraph?
we tried to include,
Each section
preambles
of
just to give some context to
What you're looking at, what you're trying to.
create some
understand.
framework.
But I understand that, but you're creating a preamble to get people thinking a certain way, and then you're asking them questions about that. I mean, if you want their answer, the questions are outlining what you're preambling.
Well, I
Like
don't think they're trying to,
restructuring everyone just said it. Restructuring the grades is question 7. Sending your pre-K kindergarten restructuring the grades, question 8. I mean, you're kind of asking all the same things by wording the questions right.
I think there was a concern that people might think that by sending, if we were to send students out of district for whatever reason, that it would be a complete savings. I think there was a hope, or there was a concern by many, by including this, is to indicate it's not going to be completely, we
Well, I
will
think
not
yeah.
pay for those students.
This is Joe, by the way. I agree with that. I think the second half of this preamble it addresses some of that, right? Like, it's not as simple as, oh, you just pick up the kids and you move them over here and everything's fine, right? There's renovations and things that need to happen to each building to facilitate moving people around.
It's not free.
Right. It's not as simple as, all right, 7th and 8th grade, pack up your stuff, you're moving down the street.
But that
The
said,
paragraphs were just as an intro to the following questions, like we did in grade school. It's just to set what you're gonna be answering next. We could put it all in the beginning of
I think
the
that's a fine
actual
addition there, right
survey.
there. I think that's fine. And then I would change where did the could go? Did we change that to may or may not?
Well, so if there's a fiscal impact on this, then I think you need to hit the people over the head with it. If you're trying to tell them that there's still gonna be a fiscal impact,
It's in there, at least part of it.
I just read it 3 times and I didn't,
Sending students on district would necessitate paying tuition to accepting schools and additional transportation costs.
And renovations
Yeah,
this
so
summer, all the schools make
That's
necessary.
also information that we don't have at this point.
Right.
So the survey is meant to look at, would you consider us looking into this? It's not
It is-
saying we're gonna go act on it, it's, we're trying to go from 9 or 12 or 15 or 47 options down to 3 or 2 that we can actually look at.
Right, if this comes back as the number 1 option, then yeah, we can start digging into it more and figuring out how much it costs to rearrange it the way it makes sense.
Alright,
Question 7, I would put 7th and or 8th graders rather than 8th and 7th to 8th graders.
I think it would be 7th
Sorry,
and
say
8th
that one more
graders.
time?
I'd put 7th and or 8th graders.
And or,
Okay.
50.
And/or?
Yeah.
And/or, yeah.
So you wouldn't send just 7th and not 8th?
No, it's
no, it would be.
7th and or 8th graders.
Yeah, I get you.
It would actually be reversed, it would be 8th graders or 7th graders.
Yes.
And or 7th
Yeah,
graders.
because in case you could just send them.
Yeah, so you'd have to reverse it.
Yeah.
8th and or 7th.
I think like, it's tricky.
And possibly 7th.
Well, Maryland's plan, I was thinking the same thing, like, we wouldn't send just 7th.
Right.
I like Bob's answer.
Yeah, I would say 8th and possibly 7th
Right.
graders. Or I wouldn't do or,
Eight,
because that could lead someone to believe that, oh, sorry, this is
just
Bob,
something.
that we're gonna send the 7th graders out of district, but not the
Yeah.
8th. So,
They're not going to district grade.
To the high school.
So, yeah, so in high school.
oh, to the high school.
Yeah.
Let's see, which one's the hardest grade to teach?
None of the above, they're all wonderful. I love them
You can
all.
tell we're in the first week of school.
Okay, so,
Ask her that in a couple
One
months.
is more challenging than the other.
whatever grade my daughter's in.
I teach both, there's definitely one. I love them both.
Alright, so question 8, sending pre-K and or kindergarten to CHS.
I have an issue with the question, I'm sorry. That was not in the original survey. I'm not sure it got voted in. And I think that goes further than space issues. I think with the OT, the PT, the speech,
Yeah.
you have to include all of the teachers and,
There's a lot of investment necessary to make that
Yeah.
happen. That was, my
We're splitting
understanding,
hairs again, though.
but my understanding, that was like an off-the-cuff suggestion by the previous superintendent that
Yeah.
kind of raised some really strong feelings. So I don't know that this is the first place we want a lot of people to see that option.
and I'm
Well,
not sure it's a
aren't we trying to-
realistic option, especially with
It's really
preschool.
not.
Expensive option. But isn't it an option based on space needs?
It's
Well,
not
not really.
space.
Why?
Because, well, one, you don't have,
Sorry.
space. Why would you send kindergarten, not 7th and 8th? It just, like, the kindergartners, there's just so much in pre.
there's a lot of faculty issues if we have to move pre-K. Because those are all, they share services with all the other elementary school grades, so we don't have the staff resources.
That's why you
to-
take kindergarten with them, because you make more of a,
Alright.
Yeah, but the staff issues still remain.
I'm gonna make a motion to remove this question from the survey.
I don't think that's a viable option.
I will second that motion.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay.
What was the count? I'm
Sorry.
I can't count.
It was yup in favor again.
Yes, for sure.
All those
In favor?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to remove the question.
Opposed
Opposed?
was,
1 to oppose. Alright. New question 8. Would you consider building possibly reusing GMS for a smaller pre-K to 2nd grade school and using LMS for 3 to 6 grades and CHS 7 through 12?
Tell me sort of address that in the question above. And I think it would be pre-K through 3, by
I think if we get a duplicative answer, that's okay. I think that this really drills down into the
Reallocate.
reallocating the younger kids.
Right, but I think it would be, having done a little bit of math on this, it would be pre-K to 3. at
Probably
GMS.
Why would you talk about consider building, because now it's a confusing
That,
question.
yeah, very, very true. So would you consider building?
Well, why wouldn't you say, would you consider reusing?
Because you're still left without an adequate number of classrooms and pull-out spaces for GMS, if you do nothing else with GMS.
Well, you know, if you took out, you're saying you're taking out,
I think
half the
building,
kids.
building is a new word.
The building
That wasn't there
changes.
before. It was.
What did we just say, implementing?
Or
Well,
reallocating?
I don't think if we're not gonna build a new elementary school, we're not gonna build a special building for pre-K.
Well, I think,
I mean, that was talked about some time ago, like a little.
it was one of the original options, that's why it
Way
ended up in
back,
here.
yes.
And that's why it ended up in here, so
Would you
like,
consider designating GMS as a smaller pre-K?
well, I think one of the options that was in the 96 options originally was to say
Was
that
option
at the
7.
LMS campus, there was going to be an LMS school and then a separate pre-K to 12 school in the parking lot outside the gym somewhere.
Options 7, 8, and 9 all had a smaller primary school, if you will.
right,
The location was different, but
I don't feel strongly one way or the other.
I think you can
Yeah,
change that to something that,
I do think
It's less
rewording
confusing.
the building thing
Yeah.
is,
I agree with Ron on that
Why
one.
don't you just take out from building through the closing parentheses and just
Yeah,
say,
you're
would you
right.
consider a smaller pre-K to second grade school?
yeah, that's a good point.
Well, essentially, that's what we're asking with question 7.
Does that work?
Well, are you saying a new smaller pre-K to second, or are we saying reusing GMS as a?
What did you do?
I don't think we have to specify. I
Yeah,
think it's
I'm-
just, would you be open to a,
No, well, I mean, because I would probably vote for
I think there's a difference
possibly
there.
reusing an existing building versus building a new school. So based on the wording, I would probably say strongly not support.
I'd say you
because-
consider
I see what you're
having, parentheses, possibly reusing GMS, a smaller pre-K to second grade school.
should we say
So keep the
reusing or-
parentheses.
Yeah.
Keep the parentheses, change building to having.
What if you don't have having, just, would you consider a smaller pre-K to 2 school using LMS for 3 to 6? And with the parentheses still there, that would allude to reusing the building
That's
as
fine.
Carrie's indicating,
Same thing.
right?
Well, why don't you just assume that you're gonna reuse GMS? Why don't you just say, would you consider using GMS for a
As-
smaller pre-K to
Yes.
second grade, using LMS for 3 through 6, and CHS for 7 through 12?
Yeah,
You can take out the word smaller.
Yeah,
yeah, you don't need that.
Yeah, it's kind of implied when you take out 2 grades.
Alright,
but you're moving everybody inside.
So it'll read,
I
would
was
you
in the nicest
consider,
building on that
would you
property.
consider using GMS for a smaller pre-K?
Or for pre-K
For
through second
pre-K.
grade.
Pre-K through second, and-
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
so you're gonna give it a
Delete
building
that.
possibly and correct?
Yes.
Okay, I like that.
So what's it read now? Would you consider what?
Would you consider using GMS for a smaller pre-K through second grade school and using LMS 3 to 6?
So take out smaller.
Can we
Is
get
the,
rid of
is the red out, or is it,
The red's out.
red is out.
red is
Red is
out? Okay.
Second grade school, comma, using LMS for 3rd to 6th grades, comma, and CHS
Yeah.
for
So like, yeah,
Yeah. I'm an Oxford comma person, I wasn't.
Get rid of the and before using LMS.
Alright, next?
Good.
The LMS for K through 6, I thought that when we looked at that, that was not even.
Not K through 6.
Yeah.
3 through 6.
So you gotta
No,
remember.
no, the next
beginning-
question,
Next
sorry, the
question.
next question.
Yeah.
I'm
So you
sorry.
gotta remember the beginning of this though says that these options could require renovations to any or all of the building.
I don't think that there was actually an ability to even
It was in
have
the
enough
options.
space to.
So that's how it got in
LMS.
here.
It was part of the 9 questions.
part of the 9
Let's look
options.
into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that it was an option that was sort of pretty fully debunked. Because I think when we looked at that, to add on space to LMS, it has to be in the parking lot, which then means that the offices are in the center of the building. It was like a,
But did you guys look at reallocating 7th and 8th grade when you did that?
well, that's not what this,
That was
that's
one
the
of the
prior
options.
question.
That's-
One of the issues
Right,
with
but this
putting
one
it in.
includes moving 7th and 8th grade to the high school.
That was one of the
And then
options.
moving LMS, was pre-K to.
Yeah,
three.
I believe that was,
So if.
because that's adding more, that's adding
If you put pre-K in LMS, you have to change all the plumbing.
Well, you have to change the fixtures.
It's all gonna
The
get
height
moved,
of,
everything's gotta get moved.
But we
out.
took, like, we get that, right? That's addressed in the preamble that says,
It's gonna cause
if these are one of your
renovations and
favorite
additions.
options, it could, there's gonna be a cost to it, right?
That's
We have to
adding-
redesign the
That's adding
building.
3 grades to that building though.
you're removing two.
No, that's net adding 3 grades.
Can I offer a suggestion to question 9? If you would consider using LMS pre-K to 6 and CHS, which would include, in this phrase, you would have to add that phrase, which would include significant renovations.
But I don't
to
think,
both.
my point is, I don't think it was even, I don't think it's even feasible, right? Like, when we went through that multiple times, I think to do an addition that's big enough, that, we have a lot of problems with that lot.
But basically what you're asking, what we're trying to get at is, would you consider us being a 2-school district?
Yeah, but I think we've accomplished that in the other, some of the other questions that are actually potentials. You know, I don't think that that's a potential at all. I don't think we can even,
I think you muddy the waters because it's really a non-starter.
Would people who's.
Let's take the question out.
I think that's what
I
I'm
think
gonna
you should.
make a motion to remove that question.
I'm okay with taking the question out, but if it's someone's favorite option and it's not on the survey, are we gonna be questioned that we weren't open for all options?
This whole process has been whittling down options.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, if it was something that it was just a case of, yeah, we could do that, but it's gonna be 20% more expensive, like, but I think.
It's not a money problem, it's a physical problem.
Right.
It's a physical space, right?
And we just spent a gajillion dollars on LMS, and now we gotta put more on it and more solar and everything else. It becomes
It
closer.
is a shame we didn't consolidate GMS to start with.
All right, so I moved to remove that question. Anyone?
Is there a second on that one?
Yes, I'll second that.
All in favor?
It's Bob.
Can you count it?
1, 2, 3, 4,
Do you need to go back to GMS?
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 in favor. All opposed? No opposed.
Any abstain?
I like getting less questions.
Me too. I can turn this
The
into.
fewer
a
the
motion.
questions, the better response you're gonna get.
Agreed. I like less questions.
Unless we're accused of not looking at all of the options.
But you can always have a second round of,
Well, number 11 is there anything else you want to share?
Right.
Yeah.
Alright.
So 10, well, I guess it's, I don't know if this is updated or not, but the
remove
question about sending 9 through 12th out of district, I think that question that seemed fine to me with the preamble, because it does give some of the
Yep.
context of what that involves.
Does it, without splitting hairs, could you say, would you consider sending some high school grades to an out-of-school district? The reason
you ever
being is you don't
send-
have to send them all.
You
I
guys
don't
send
think
them
you
all.
could get a
No one.
contract.
Yeah.
No one is gonna take just some of your
Couldn't get a what?
You guys send them all.
Because if you don't start at a certain grade that the high school supports, you're transferring kids midway through high school, which is hard on them when their education, their social lives,
No
the
districts.
districts that are taking them in.
It would be really hard for the district to
Because they're
plan.
not always apples to apples and where they're teaching and in the same structure.
Right.
If it's US history in 11th grade here and it's in 10th grade in Nashua or wherever you're looking to send
Or
it.
if the school requires 3 years of foreign language and we don't, then we have kids going in short. So it's, we just need to make sure that we're,
Again, don't wanna go down the rabbit hole.
But you will?
Long-term forecast, we added a kindergarten this year, right? Is this sustainable in 10 years if classrooms keep?
Well, so the preamble really drills into that, right? The
Yeah.
reason we have a high school is because you never know if it's sustainable, right? You
Right.
never know if another district's gonna accept you,
And how long they're gonna
and how
accept
long
you
they're gonna
for.
accept you, or whether it's going to be, cost prohibitive because they decide to jack their tuitions up or whatever, so.
The other reason I say
We're not gonna
that,
kick you up, we're gonna make it so uncomfortable that
Right.
you don't wanna stay.
the other reason I say that is to your point of like making sure all options, the last thing you wanna do is present an option that we already know isn't sustainable in
Well, I
10 years
think this
based off
varies
of,
those
based off of
Yeah.
the classroom
Yeah.
size.
We
and
have
that.
to focus on it every year.
Right.
And say, there are no school districts
Everyone's
that will take our 9
numbers are down.
graders.
You just can't predict that for us.
All right, I think, unless anyone wants to make a motion on changing something with this, I think this question is good as it's written.
Yep, I'm good. Alright, is everybody good with number 11?
Yeah,
I
it's
put number 11 last.
Yep.
of all the
Yeah.
questions,
Yeah.
obviously.
It's just open-ended. You wanna tell us anything else that's helpful?
So there was a bunch of back and forth dialogue about asking whether or not someone voted to approve the new GMS building in the 2024 election. I am in favor of including this question because I think one of the things that we have to be able to drill down into is if people voted no, like one of the big questions is if you voted no, what type of thing are you willing to support? And I think that's useful information for us. One of the biggest objections was, what if people don't want to say, they have an option to say rather not say. So I think that that's adequately addressed. I think it's useful information.
So this is Joe. My issue with this question is we have spent lots of time trying to remove what we've called bias from these questions. This intentionally puts it in and says that people who voted no's opinion is more important than people who voted yes.
Kinda, no offense.
It is, I don't disagree, but I'm just saying that's what this question
It's
does, and that's what we're
the
trying to remove.
So why don't we,
I don't think it
did
does.
you vote for or against?
I'm gonna
Or
also
rather
say,
not say?
we've asked them to give them our name,
Yeah.
ask for their email in order to participate in the survey, and I'm okay with taking that out, but other people wanted it in, so multiple people didn't take the survey multiple times. I would never ask a political question with an identifier. I think it's bad form.
That is.
Then you could make adding your email an option
But
It is.
at the end.
So the
It
problem.
says optional.
So the concern with not adding this is like, so say you get yes, and so people do choose to answer it. You get 70% say yes, 30% say no, so then are the answers legit? Because now, okay, well, you were gonna say yes anyway.
And it doesn't match.
Right, like, yeah, is that even
So
useful
then-
at that point?
Numbers, so you
Right,
get a
you're
completely
assuming
different.
that people haven't changed their mind as they've gotten re-educated.
Well,
You assume that someone who voted yes is still gonna vote yes, and someone who
No,
voted
Not
no.
necessarily, but-
Carrie's point is that if you only get, like, if we got 90% of people that voted yes, right? Are we actually getting information that's going to be useful
To change
to identifying
Especially the-
what solution might be supported by the community at large?
and I think some of the onus of that, though, is on this committee in our engagement plans, right? Like, getting to those people that voted no. Like, we can't just put this on Facebook, right? Like, that's not gonna suffice. We have to make sure we're at the polls. There's hard copies in the town hall. We
Sure,
go to some of these communities.
Well, Joe, I'm not sure what your point is. We're only trying to get people to answer the question, we're not trying to sell an answer, right?
No, but we want
No.
to get as big an audience,
Right,
cast as wide a net as we can.
So trying to get to people and not just the people who said yes, like, is gonna be easy, right? 'Cause we can send up to just school people and get a bunch of yeses, like, that doesn't help us.
But
I think this
if
question
you-
is gonna offset people, and people are not gonna submit the survey.
I would argue to data analytics, I can tell you what their vote is by them answering these questions.
Well, our theory is that there's a group of people who might be in support of a lot of different things, but still voted no, right?
But again, I mean, if you just look at the data pool, you're gonna get a percentage of people who are gonna do this. Of that percentage of people, you've got two camps, I voted yes or I voted no. The sample size, I mean, you can take would not support and would not strongly support. I mean, you can drop 5 of these questions into one bucket. If any of them answer this, it's more probable than not that they didn't vote for this.
Or they voted.
No, that's not true.
You don't know that everyone who's taken the survey actually voted
But
in the election.
We had a pretty big turnout for the election. That's
But
about
it's
as
all-
good as it gets for
But they're not
the
saying.
entire election.
I do think that your point, actually, I would say yes, no, did not vote,
The one in March.
rather not say, because I think you do need that option there.
But I think some of this, like to Brian's point, I think some of this can be gleaned from the answer to question 2, right? Why did it fail? Like, that's gonna tell you what their opinion was
No,
of
because
the
some
warrant
people
article.
voted yes, no, would feel that it still failed for other reasons. Like, they could be at least, like, yes, I voted no, but I understand that there were concerns about X, Y, and Z, so that's why it failed. So the answer to that question is not gonna tell you necessarily. I mean, it's up to, ultimately, it's up to the comfort level of the group here, right? If the goal is to see, how can we get, you need a supermajority to pass the bond. So if we're only collecting information from the people who are, so you're understanding that we have to flip, what, 30% of the vote? Like, so it went
It's 57-43.
Yeah, it was almost completely the wrong way.
Yeah.
So
Hold
we
on,
need to
Sydney.
flip 20% of the vote. So can we will this be able to capture, will we get enough
25%.
information to know that our concerns will address that 20%?
Good.
25.
This is a joke, but is that our goal, is this committee? Like, I'm not trying to flip anybody's vote.
You have to, like,
I don't-
if
no,
we're
I
gonna
don't.
solve, if we're gonna solve
No,
a
I don't.
problem,
No, you don't.
No, I don't.
No, you don't.
Yes,
I will certainly not have to flip my vote. If this survey comes back and tells me to do nothing,
to be out
then that is my
there, right?
recommendation to the
Oh,
school
yeah.
board, that we're doing nothing.
And my question, are you going to ignore the survey data?
No.
If you didn't get the right answer, yes or no, of the people? Are we gonna just
Well,
say?
and that-
No, it's just another question.
Yeah, I mean-
so it's not about flipping a vote, it's about getting a large amount of community support behind
Say
whatever
yes.
option we have, right?
Right, which has no bearing on how they voted before.
Yep.
Their options are in here, and it's gonna tell me what you think is your number one option in all of these things we already asked you. Doesn't matter if you voted yes or no before, because I'm not trying to change your vote.
Well-
If you want just deferred maintenance, great. Answer yes to that question, we're gonna,
Right,
and if
so
that's the
but-
number one response, that's what we're gonna recommend.
Okay, fine, but the problem, the thing is though, even if you have a deferred maintenance, there's still money attached to that. Are we gonna be able to get enough votes to support that added increase to the budget?
But that's
The
not the
question of
problem
deferred
here.
maintenance is not in there.
That's not the point of this survey.
That's,
Wait a minute,
candidly, that's the school board problem.
No, but you're still trying to find a solution or a group of solutions.
I'm not trying to change anybody's vote, and your vote
Alright, so
before
I'm
doesn't
gonna make a
matter.
motion to include this question, removing personally identifiable information, and adding another bullet point that says, did not.
Matt?
So how
Yeah,
are you?
so you need to have, did not vote.
Yes.
So how are you gonna make sure that, Joe Schmo, wherever, no offense, but Billy Bob, whoever, doesn't submit this 14 times? If there's no person.
How did you guys figure that out with the
We
economic
did it with
development?
IP addresses.
That's a personal, but isn't that?
But that's only if you
It's
fill it out
just a
digitally.
number, it doesn't tell you who it is.
And that's only if you filled it out digitally, though.
Right,
Okay.
we also, there was also a question on there that was, what is your connection to Litchfield? I live here, I work here, I visit people here, kind of a thing.
You're trusting people. We have to trust.
At some point, we have to
people.
trust
They did, but they did have a situation, I think, with the economic development survey.
They did, and there was people who voted many times, and
Right.
their votes got called out.
So trust but verify, we have no means of verifying if we pull out.
Can we do, well, I should, so I'll
No
amend that to say less personally. Like if we ask for their name and email address, I think that is,
Sure, I mean, what's to say some kid walking down was like, oh, it would be really funny to submit this. Like, so and then you end up with like, again, well, we have, 8,000 voters and 12,000 responses.
but I mean, how are we gonna cross-reference that it's even real names? Like, how do we even know, right? Like, someone can make up fake names and go
Right.
open
No
a bunch
one's
of
actually
emails.
looking at the names. We're not looking for 2,000 names.
Can I ask a question on that IPS? What if I vote and my wife votes, but we're both gonna come from the same IPS address?
If you use the same computer.
If you use the
Yeah.
same computer.
Yeah.
I only have one.
But I don't think they were going
I think
after people that had
I think
two
they-
submissions, I think they were going after people that had
I
like
don't know
20
what it was.
submissions.
Huh?
I don't think they went after people that had two submissions, it was like people that had like 20 submissions.
Okay, but just as a point of,
Yeah, makes sense.
But I don't think that you can, no one's gonna be actually going through this and saying, okay, does this name cross-reference to an email address? Like, you could go make up it's
No,
easy to
you-
go create a Gmail account.
No, that's why they ask you for the address, right? So you're cross-referencing by address. And you're saying, how many times do I have 52 Main Street on here?
Okay,
If you
I'm
have a-
amending my motion to take out the excluding the personally identifiable information because we have an option on there to not answer it, so.
would you?
So my motion is to include this question, adding an additional bullet point of I did not vote.
Can I, before you do that, just one thing on the wording, this is grammar and wording. It does, did you vote to approve the GMS building?
Did you
It
vote in
does-
favor of?
Right.
What was your vote?
Yeah, I would say, what was your vote? Because that takes the directionality of
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Like, yes, I voted yes, yes is positive. So that has more bias than how did you vote?
Okay,
It's
That makes sense.
it's a more neutral way of wording.
I like that word.
Can you say that again, Joe? Sorry.
I'm sorry. Instead of how it's worded, I would say, how did you vote on the warrant Article 1 in the March 2024 election?
And then make the choices
Yeah,
in
yes.
favor, opposed.
Was-
In favor,
Did not
opposed,
vote,
did
or
not
that's
vote,
correct.
would not like do not want to answer.
Okay, go ahead, Bob.
Before we get to voting on that, we have a lot of people here that are saying, remove the question, people that want the question. Can we supersede your motion by just asking if this committee wants the question or not?
Technically, there's no second altogether.
No, you're voting to amend it. And
You're voting
To amend and keep.
you're not
I'm voting to
remove
include it.
Of voting
You voted
to
to
amend
include it.
and keep the question.
He had a discussion to edit, but Matt started us to leave the question on there.
Technically, there's
Yeah,
no
he's
no
voting-
second on
he's-
any of
he's-
this
okay,
conversation.
Right.
Okay,
Alright.
we're voting to keep it. I
So,
don't like it.
edit the question, keep the question.
Okay.
That's the motion that Matt provided.
Well, I think if we just vote on whether to keep it or not, we can then talk, we can then
Right.
just say,
And
yeah,
get
we're
the
gonna,
box.
right, like,
Yeah.
we don't have to vote on that,
So
so,
I can second that.
Alright. Seconded.
all in favor?
All those in favor?
Of keeping the-
Keeping
of
it.
Of keeping the question.
Of keeping.
Keeping a question, we're
With
keeping
the-
it,
yes.
Keeping question 12.
which is probably now 10, but yeah.
So 1, 2, 3 in favor, 4 in favor. All opposed? 2, 4, 5, 6. 6 opposed. Motion
Abstain?
fails.
Abstains?
Oh, sorry.
We had 11.
Any
That was
abstains?
11.
Yeah, we had 11 voting members. Which is
Thank
abstained.
you.
One
That's my
abstain.
counting.
Sorry.
My math's not
All right, hack it, we're done.
So want to send me a clean copy and I will digitize it. The cleanest copy you can possibly think of, please.
Dan, you can just send it back to me, I can clean it up and.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, we'll figure it out. What is, oh, that's right, I'm on a different screen.
No.
Alright.
I've been trying to keep up with everybody, it's not easy.
I gave it a title.
We're gonna get to item 2 on the agenda?
We are gonna get to item 2,
That's a big improvement.
40 minutes late.
It's all right, the other stuff is gonna be quick.
Yep. So, sign up sheet. Joe, were you able to?
I sent it to you in those documents that I sent you. It's super simple, I kept it easy. It's a quick little spreadsheet, couple hours, time slots.
Do we know who's gonna set up, hopefully a table in a nice shade, rainy area for us?
I mean, I have an easy up and stuff that I can drop off, I just can't be there first thing in the morning, I can do the close up.
I can be there first thing in the morning.
Did you, it's an Excel sheet that I hit.
I didn't get an Excel sheet. All I got
It was
were
in
the
the,
3 Word docs.
Way bottom.
3 Word docs, no, that's in the Excel sheet?
I thought I
Yeah,
saw.
there was the,
Matt, you should have got it in one of the other emails from the communication committee. I guess I didn't, I must have not sent it, I'm sorry, but.
It's just the
yeah.
two of us who signed up.
Yeah,
Did you get it?
because the polls are open from what, 7 to 7?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All I got was those 3 Word docs.
Oh, sorry, I must have not attached it. But it's, yeah, there are 2-hour time slots starting at 7. And it's, I put 2 representatives at each time slot.
There we go.
I put myself from
You wanna send it to me? And then I can.
4 to 7,
4 to 7,
and I'm 12 to 4.
and she's 12 to 4. So there's just those other slots to fill up. People can either email me and I'll fill it in, or however you wanna address that.
Why don't we collect them, as many as we can here? if
Yep.
we
Yeah,
have
that's-
preference.
Now you're sending it to
I
Dan
will
to pull
do
up?
the setup first slot.
And I can coordinate with someone beforehand. I got a table, I got an easy up, I got all the stuff you're gonna need to.
Do you have boxes?
Boxes? Like collection boxes?
Yeah.
I do not. That's the one thing I do not have.
I can make those at school.
Okay, cool. We're gonna need a bunch of those, I think.
That's the 10th, right?
Paper boxes, they have lids.
Love that.
I mean, we'll need at least one for the 10th, but I'm thinking we're gonna need more of those to put one at the town hall, if we're gonna have hard copies at each school.
Kim said to bring 2 to town hall, because one will go at the town clerk and one will go, I think, with the building inspector.
Okay.
Building department. And those
How
are
many
the
would you
most
like?
stuff it gets. 2 for town hall anyway.
2 for the town hall, 1 for
4?
each school.
5, 6, 7.
Yeah, and then 1 we can use at the polls. So I don't know if we need a separate one for that, or we can reuse one of them. These what time did you have it? This is a non-updated
I'm
version.
12 to 4,
You're 12 to 4?
yep.
Would you like them wrapped so they can't be opened easily for
Yes.
security
As
purposes?
tamper-proof as possiple.
Wrapping paper.
MC,
Duct tape.
H-U-G-H.
Test someone.
MC,
H-U-G-H.
We can give you from 7 to 9.
will do. Marilyn.
Yes. Wade, like wade in the water.
Alright, I can also do in the evening. I can do 5 to 7.
Did you grade the graphic cards?
Peter, when you did the other one, did
Graphic
you
cards that went
count
along with
the results there, or did you count them afterwards?
Like signs and.
Yeah, alright, I'll send, when
I-
I create it.
They
I'll
went
create it. I'll give you the
to
actual.
town hall and they count them, they track the
Okay?
electronic responses, they
Look, is
track
it- and it
sort
was
of
like,
right along.
no,
Okay.
It was like some
Not
other
junk.
junk. What?
And then.
How do you spell your last name?
Consolidated.
Okay,
Jozeitis.
wasn't sure about that.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Perfect. Alright,
Did you say 11 or did you say 12?
I said 11, but you know.
oh,
Just to make sure you're overcommitted. Voluntold to show up.
I just need to get home and feed puppies.
alright. Who else we got?
I can sit out there, it's fine. Just throw me in wherever.
We have
We have negotiations at 3,
right,
so I can't do anything after 3, but, you know, I'm around. I can, fill me in for whatever, if something happens that day, you need me to come in. I'm not bound by anything like some of these guys are from a building standpoint.
Okay?
Why don't you put him as second on like the 12 o'clock hour too?
Sure.
So at least I got one person there for the whole day. Everybody can be back up at.
I can, I have to check with my work stuff, but I can add myself into.
Okay?
Shouldn't be someone sick or has to leave with a family emergency.
Yeah, I mean, if it's
Right.
during the day, just
Second.
let me know. I can free myself up pretty easily. It's one of the luxuries
Famous
of
last
the.
words.
Alright, so we're good with this for now?
Maybe the luxury.
It might be the luxury.
My mouse is on the other
If
screen.
anybody gets home and figures out if there's a time that works for them, just let myself know. And I can
All right.
put it to the list.
So Peter, we do need to bring this to the survey to the school board though, right?
I think we should,
When's your meeting?
tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Okay. I was gonna say, do we got time for that?
We probably should, for sure.
Then you need the finished copy by tomorrow.
What time's the meeting tomorrow?
5:30.
I'll give it to you before 5:30.
Alright, so Jen, you said that you're gonna work on getting 8 boxes?
Can I ask for the committee, is the primary kind of the launch date too? Cause that's also gonna give me the deadline for when this is digitized. Or we're considering next Tuesday the launch day for the survey.
I would think so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have-
That's when I'll make the QR code live and have the digital
Yeah.
copy ready to
Because
go.
I think we wanna have at the table, right, you're gonna have hard copies for people who
Or
wanna
you
fill it
can-
out by hand, or you have the sign with the QR code for the people that wanna do it on their phone. And people can even take the hard copy home and bring it to one of the drop boxes somewhere if they want to. If they don't wanna sit there and fill
I
it
just need
out
to know I
in
have
front of
till
people.
Tuesday at 7 AM too.
Is there a big turnout typically for primaries?
It depends. I figure that it'll be maybe 40% of what we'd see at the general election. So there's significant interest this year, so I expect a good turnout. And that would be a good turnout.
What would that number be, Rich? 1,000 people?
I don't think there'll be 1,000. I would say somewhere around 600.
Still a good
I
start.
think it'll be more than that. I think it'll be more.
I mean, in general, I think we have what,
What about, you got governor, you
You wanna
got
put a
state
bet on
reps?
it or something?
Sure. Beverage of choice.
Exactly.
I'm writing that in notes right now.
You're right.
They're gonna bring this to the general election too.
Oh, it's, how are we gonna tabulate all of the results, including digital and hard copy?
I assume
Uh,
we're gonna put the,
So the,
Digital will create a
we'll
spreadsheet.
do it itself.
Right,
and we'll have to
And
hand key in the
then
rest.
we'll have to key in the hard copies.
And
Surely there's
I'll
some
volunteer to do
key
some of that.
numbers.
yeah, I'm
Okay.
happy to do it. I could do data entry.
And actually, the easiest way, believe it or not, to key them in is to actually go to the form and like.
And just keep filling out the
Yeah,
survey.
copy it.
Yeah. As opposed
We
to
could
trying to
screen
find the
out
right
like a
cell on
rack,
this.
yeah.
Right, you're not typing it, you're actually taking the survey
Straight
based
survey.
off of people's paper
Yeah.
surveys, I get what you're saying.
Sounds like a great detention task for some kids in middle school.
You got a few
I
minutes?
don't know that I would trust them to be
Put to
100% accurate, right, because they take that SAT like
Just
this.
kidding, just
No, but
kidding.
with that, you could take the, it's a task that could be divided up with this committee. You could take the stack of papers and everyone
Right.
grabs an even amount and say,
Right.
here's the QR code, open the survey and
Punch
get
it.
clicking.
I'll volunteer to watch Dan count.
No hanging chads or anything like that.
In terms of the posters, flyers, yard signs, what do we think we need? Like, I am very out of touch with the cost of producing these things.
I have no idea. Like, I can go run to Staples and find out what they cost and.
A
like,
lot.
I can tell you what signs
What's
cost.
what's a lawn sign cost?
They're expensive.
$5.
Oh,
For two-sided?
Yep.
Yeah, for two-sided, yeah.
we don't
I mean, I
have
don't think we need
websites.
tons of these things, right? Like, we wanna put them in strategic places. I think putting them one at Romano's and one at the,
The
Well,
problem with the
like,
ad
you
signs
got-
is they're $5 if you buy 100 of them. If you buy 5 of them, they're $25, you know?
right. And maybe they're not yard signs, right? Maybe it's just a
If you need
bigger
just
poster.
bigger posters, there's a website that we've been getting posters for school. It was like 78 cents a piece. They're
There you
pretty,
go.
pretty cheap.
I just need a dollar amount to bring to the school board, because we'll just ask the school board to authorize.
And like, what
How
is
many
it?
signs do you need, you figure?
I'm just trying to think of like where you could put these things, right? The library, you want one, like, I'm just.
Somewhere at the-
Town hall.
Town hall.
The town.
Dude, that's been using that sign that's up there.
Can you put a QR code on
But you
that?
can't QR code that, right? Like, can you just
Really?
picture people in line at the dump trying to QR code the sign up on the wall?
If it's on the inside, you don't need the all-weather.
Right. Right, so places you can put it inside that hopefully have bulletin boards, or like the golf courses, the library. But you just want something, obviously not a sheet of paper,
No,
maybe
I think that's
something
good.
a little bigger, but if you can get it for
You want
70
a
cents.
motion for that from here?
All right, yeah, we can do that.
What's that?
It was proposed that we ask the school board for $500, up to $500.
I would think it's probably less than that, but yeah. And plus you wanna print card signs, right? I
So
don't know.
you,
I'm typing you in that you did, because I heard it from this ear, so there you go.
alright, so Denise, you're making the motion to ask the school board for $500 for supplies?
Up to.
Up to.
Not to exceed,
Not to exceed.
not to exceed.
Alright, I will second that motion. That was Dan DeWitt, by the way.
I got you.
So
Sorry.
you're gonna be an expert just recognizing people's names.
All
You're
right.
not good at saying it.
So, all votes in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All opposed?
There should only be
0.
so good.
Yeah, we're good.
Any abstain? We're good, alright.
That will include, will that be enough to include printing hard copies?
I would think so. Like I said,
I would encourage you to do business cards. Business cards by far, you can get the cheapest version of it. A quick little blurb in the QR code, soccer picking up, baseball's picking up.
Yeah.
Everyone put 20 of them in your pocket, if you pass out 20 of them, they're not cumbersome, they're small enough. Business cards are internationally identifiable as something you have to do with.
and this is also not stuff that, other than the hard copies that we need for the election, all of this stuff doesn't have to be ready by next Tuesday.
Those 3x5s that we had last year cost me $60, like 250 of them.
Yeah.
It was a little bit more than a business card.
And if you go smaller, I mean, $10, I think I just paid for 200.
I'm just wondering for the hard
Just the print.
copies, how many
Yeah,
hard copies
right.
of the surveys do we need?
Well, his
Well-
estimate was, what, you said?
600.
600 to 800 people showing up at the polls?
But that's primary.
I don't think you need that many.
Probably gonna
on
need a couple
Tuesday?
thousand.
But are we gonna be leaving some at the town hall?
But those only need to be ready for Tuesday.
So question,
I'm-
if I'm ordering them.
what if you have a smaller
Wait, I mean-
amount, and if you need extras, we
We get more?
Yeah, you
ask
go, you go
somebody.
print.
You mean there's a solution if we run out?
Yeah, I
If you
mean,
run out, you say, can somebody please run to the photocopier and run off a couple, you know,
Yeah.
like 10, 15.
Isn't that how we're gonna start?
I mean,
I would hope so.
So
I would imagine we're not gonna print them out from another
We haven't-
company. I would
yeah,
imagine
right.
a school would print them
We'll
out.
just, I'll
wouldn't
print them double-sided.
interested.
Yeah.
Black and white.
Print it off your printer.
Here you go.
Problem solved.
Black and
I'll
white.
take them to work.
okay.
Do they have to be huge? Could you do them in like a booklet format where it's folded? Or would you want it to be?
She's just looking for ideas to do with her kids in detention.
Kidding.
They'll
But does it
tabulate,
need
they'll
to be too big, 'cause
fold.
we could do
right.
smaller sizes.
I think older people are gonna want the larger print.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think based on that we just removed a couple questions.
Good news is we're back.
It's probably gonna condense
Yeah.
down to like 4 pages. If you do double-sided, then it's just a 2-page thing.
All right, so the hard copies for Tuesday, we're gonna get printed from the schools. Right?
Yeah.
Sweet. 6:52. On-site insight update.
Yeah. So, we talked about it at the board meeting 2 weeks ago. The board asked me to get some more information in regards to doing it for all 3 schools, so I'm gonna report this out tomorrow night at the board meeting, but I'm gonna pull up my numbers, hold on one sec. So they're the right ones. So for 3 schools, they're all different sizes, it's based on square footage. Griffin Memorial is 8,500, LMS is 9,750, and then Campbell is 12,750.
That
So-
number doesn't make more sense based on what the
Yeah.
Turner was.
Yep.
Say
So
your
altogether,
Campbell one
it's
more time,
about,
please.
Campbell's 12,750.
I think we talked too about not doing LMS, given we've just.
Yeah, and that's the thing, we can talk about whether to do that, not do that, whatever the case may be.
I
And
would-
did they say, was there a difference in timeline as to when they could get those done?
Not really, I mean, there's, like, you have to schedule it and then they work it in, you know, it's, they didn't seem too crazy about the scheduling stuff, so.
So, I'm sorry, I missed, what was LMS?
9750.
But the authorization was to do GMS, correct? And then to.
The authorization was come back with prices.
Not
for all three.
97,500?
But you said CHS was 12,750?
12,750.
What's the total?
It's like around 31, you can do the math real quick.
And why would you not do LMS? I know we just spent a lot of money, but there's things on the CIP like the floor, parking lots.
We didn't say
Septic.
we weren't gonna, we were just,
Okay.
it was just the school board went back and said, we wanna know what it is for all 3 schools.
Okay, the only reason I bring it up is you need to look at what our total potential,
Well, even though we've done it, now we want to track, well, now we have all this new equipment, in 15 years, we have to replace our batteries.
Right.
And 20 years, we need to do this, so even though this stuff is new, it's even more important to get it on.
Yes.
So we don't lose track of it and be like, oh my goodness, what just happened?
Yes.
So we can have it built into the maintenance program. So to me, LMS is definitely critical it gets done, because unless we have somebody who's already input all the O&Ms into some kind of maintenance schedule, we need somebody to do that for us.
It's a great transition into school dude update.
It is, so,
I try.
I sat down with,
Before we move on to the next thing, what are we doing with that now?
I just wanted an update on it, so it's going back to the school board. We decided that we wanted to wait to vote on doing it for GMS, just to make sure that there wasn't like any sort of cost efficiencies if we committed to all 3 schools, which I'm assuming that
These are all independent?
they're all.
These are, yeah, but I mean, yes, they would like to do them all together, if they're
No
making the trip.
15% off if we do them all together?
We actually did get a discount.
Buy 2,
on
get
all of
1
them,
free?
So, they give us a, like, a referral thing, because I happen to work at a district that's.
You've gotta refer a friend.
Yeah. And I was like, I didn't actually request this at my little district, she's like, it's fine.
So Joe, to answer your question, we
triple
will
discount?
probably be voting on that tomorw.
hey Brian,
Nothing we need to take action on then.
No.
you mentioned they potentially start September. Do they have an end date of when a report would be?
No, we didn't get in that level of detail. I think they would need to see what they're assessing. I mean, when we did that one in Dunbar, and I can go back and look, it was a couple months before they turned it back over to us.
Okay.
all right, school dude. So, I sat down with David Ross and Joe Underwood over at the high school library, back at the end of July. My intent of talking with them is to figure out what do they like, what don't they like, what's wrong with it, what's good with it, yada, yada, yada. Not trying to steer anybody in any one direction about we're gonna get rid of it, we're not. I hear about it, I wanna know. So, essentially, they came up with a series of pros and cons, so, on the facility side of School Dude. They use two different modules. One of them is basically your maintenance module, and the other one is an event planner module. And essentially, I did send out the meeting minutes. I will make sure that it's in the folder. Let's see here. So 2 modules, Maintenance Direct, FS Direct, used for events and planning. These 2 modules cover the 2 main use cases by facilities. What are their current capabilities? Maintenance work orders, including reoccurring preventative maintenance work orders. So they have, it's called reoccurring. It is in there, it is available. They have said that they generally just don't use, it. They had one.
Have it, but it's not being used.
Correct. So, one person started putting something in there, but that person has since left and it's not really being paid attention to. And from there, they're able to delegate. So Joe and Dave can say, hey, this person's better at painting the wall, so we're gonna go sign it to them and go from there. They have the ability to enter how long it took to complete a work order. They don't use it. It's not used at this time. Now, I can understand why, just from not everyone has access to it. You need a computer. They get an app on their phone that they use, but I'm not sure if the other facilities personnel do. And I know that the teachers and the staff throughout the school, they do not have an app on their side. So they can put in actual time spent, you can enter in an estimation of how long it takes. This is general basic stuff with an app like this. You are able to enter a cost. So if you had to replace a filter, I had to go buy a new one to replace the inventory, I'm gonna go put in what's the latest updated cost for that filter. That is actually available as well. There is an email traceability of the work order. That's something that I know, Dan, you mentioned, is that the teachers don't necessarily get a feedback of when a work order is complete. But there is email traceability, but it's not to the teacher, it's to Joe and Dave. So if someone completes the work order, it goes out, but to look at pending statuses, from what I am understanding, they have to go in and see what that pending status is. They don't get a notification when a status changes. There is goods and bads to that, right? If you do that, then your email inbox just gets flooded with a whole bunch of pending statuses, but at the same time, there was some feedback of, well, people wanted to see this. So with the event scheduler, with the calendar, event approval, event confliction resolution, they do that manually. So if someone rents out a field or something and another person wants to book it, they have to go in and manually deconflict that resolution and go from there. And they have a spot for required resources for events, tables, chairs, trash cans, yada, yada, yada. The facilities management team does have access on their phone. I don't know if it's an app or if they're just logging into the school website on their browser on their phone to do it, but they do get email updates and everything on their phones. So I captured the 3 biggest capabilities. Ability to make certain fields on tickets required. So the problem is you go to ask for an event, they get a whole list of questions. None of them are required. So people will say, I need the football field. Doesn't say how many people, how many events, how many trash cans. I mean, it'll fill in the date, but it doesn't, you don't have to put in your information, your address or anything like that. So it's basically an unmitigated field of questions. So they can answer all, they can answer none. And they get a ton of those of where people just don't fill it out. So the case they brought up was like the volleyball camp that they had, is that someone filled it out and they didn't put in the number of people that was attending what they actually needed. So they showed up that day and said, oh, I need trash cans. Okay, how many? Where? All of that stuff. Calendar, so they like the calendar view, right? You can go on the website and they have a calendar view so you can see what's planned and when. And there is a traceability of who filled it out, how it was filled out, and all that other stuff. So getting into, you can enter events in advance up to a year, but there's no reminders to the facility staff. So somebody can book out the soccer fields for soccer that just started this week for next year, starting now. And the problem is that it's in there, it's in the year. They get a notification it was set up. They don't have reminders that pop up or remind them of it. Not the end of the world, but I understand where that becomes annoying. Maintenance tickets are just, it's a generic form. There's a lot of possible fields, a lot of unused categories on their end that they see.
A million icons.
And
to
on our end
click on.
too.
Yes.
Stupid.
Yep, so, and I already sent you the same list of questions essentially to get filled out by the staff and the faculty, because I'm trying to get the other side.
We got 29 responses.
Nice. So they got the consumer side, right, is the facilities team. Now we need the customer side, right, is I need what the customers are seeing. So that's faculty, staff that are filling out the tickets that need something done. Facilities doesn't know what the other view looks like. They don't have access to what the staff that Jen and Dan or anybody else looks like. So they had no clue that there is 83 icons that you can click on to fill out a ticket. There's no real administrator. So it was done by somebody who left, and then it was just kind of dumped on Dave's lap. So he's been trying to deal with it and move forward. He's never gotten proper training on how to use it. He's in there. There's people that are in there that they can't remove. I'm not sure if he has all of the administrative privileges, but he should. I think he does. I just think he doesn't have any formal training with it, and it's a pretty involved piece of software.
Can I put a point of clarification also? I know I want to keep going on this, but I happened to run into Doug Totten
Okay.
on one of his last days in district. We just signed a contract for this for a 2-year renegotiation that was put forward, so we're stuck with this.
That's okay.
Well, that's why I wanted to
yeah.
put that out there, because
No.
I was asking Doug questions about it, because I knew it was coming up here, and I
So it's, and again, I'm not saying we need to change it. I'm not saying it's a good idea to change it. I'm just trying to get what are they seeing and viewing. Go ahead, Joe.
This might be a question anybody knows the answer to, but does the company that provides the software provide training?
I haven't gotten that far. Yes, they do, just because it's a Siemens product, it's done and supported by Siemens. Yes, they will provide training. I didn't look into cost. They may force us to upgrade to their latest one because School Dude is deprecated. It's now called Brightly. So the fact that it's still called School Dude shows that we're in
I'm surprised they let us
older
renew
version.
it then.
I know.
As the old one, that's weird.
So it might still be, it still might be supported, it's probably just not sold, right? So, and going from there. So again, that was also an option to go from there. And I guess the other thing is that Dave and Joe, they have a tough time navigating the system, understanding where everything is, where everything hides and everything on their end, because they have so many different windows. They have a huge backlog of preventative maintenance work orders that somebody filled out. They don't know how to clear them out. So again, it's just, I don't know if they understand how to navigate the system properly. And again, as I mentioned, right, they don't know how to clear people out of the system that no longer work there.
So in other words,
Need
we're
training.
not really using the system well.
No.
We need an administrator and we need training. Somebody who
Yeah,
can-
I was, my thought is there has to be someone out there that does consulting to come in and optimize, whether it's the company itself or whether it's a third party,
Right,
to
yeah,
optimize
they
this.
will. Yeah.
I would start with Siemens for sure.
Yeah, I would start with School Dude. Talk to School Dude. You guys are already on contract with them. See, say, hey, listen, we had people move in and out. We need to get retrained, and go from there. But it basically, their reminder, what they would like to see is all the stuff that they talked about that they can't do, right? Is they want to actually be able to administer, take people in and out. They want reminders on events that are planned far in advance. They would like confirmation emails in period of time before the event, right? So that's their email reminder to say, oh yeah, I got to go set up for soccer on Tuesday. They want the ability to log the time with the staff. School Dude can do it, but it's a self-fill-in, right? So you can claim a ticket, but they don't fill in all of the stuff, right? So on all of the forms for events, they want a certain number of required fields,
Yeah.
right? You just can't leave it blank. And they want to be able to track actual cost to set up and go down. I know their new system can do this. System I use, you can put a QR code right on the side of the furnace, you can scan it, and it's gonna tell you what filters, what belts, and everything that goes in it, when's the last time it was done, and all of that other stuff. What else did I have in here? So, by being able to track costs, right, you can start understanding what your preventative maintenance, your consumables start costing. How much does a box of light bulbs cost, right? If you're replacing the T8 fluorescents in GMS, you can start understanding the filters, the belts, the hard stuff to find now. Consumables for assets. The biggest thing that they have with the event planner is they put it on an event, let's say polling at the high school, they put it on an event, right? They plan for some consumables to be used in the restrooms and tables and stuff. And then they have no way to figure out and how to charge for, hey, we gotta charge the event planners, right? They're gonna use the consumables that I got stocked for the school kids and the staff. So being a way to do that as well, to say, hey, you're gonna be here for 5 hours, you're gonna go through 5 toilet paper rolls, we gotta get people to clean it. Their other biggest thing is undercharging for their employees' times to clean up after these events. Event is over, people are chit-chatting, they're not clearing out, and they're supposed to be done by, call it 8:30 PM after polling. People are still there chit-chatting, going on and on and on, and then it's 10:30, 11 o'clock by the time their maintenance staff are coming out, and they're paid hourly. So, but the workers get paid, but they're not back charging the organizer of the event for this because they just don't have that ability.
I think we're gonna have to be careful, like a lot of the school stuff, we don't actually rent, do we? Actually, there's the local and town committees that are generally use the space.
There's a combination of the outside agencies, like, for example, at CHS last year, one of the issues that they had was a dance competition that came in.
Okay.
So it was an outside, should have been a significant cost to the vendor.
Yep.
However, they didn't know that they were gonna need a janitor, they didn't know that they were gonna need bathrooms open, they didn't know that they were gonna need
So we do
the
have
sound
things that
system
come in
and.
that we do charge for.
And-
I think
and
even for
then-
the town stuff though, it'd be worth, for budgeting purposes for us, just
Well,
to,
I just know that when we went like for Cub Scouts or Scouts, right, we used the space, but we were never billed for it, so. 'Cause
right.
it's-
But even if we're not gonna bill for it,
Right.
like, it would be good to know what
Oh,
the,
absolutely, I like
Yep.
the idea of tracking it, because otherwise you're like, why do you use 50 cents per square foot, that's a big number, what does that mean? I like having something that ties it back to.
And lastly, it's just that they're looking for people to do auto time tracking. That way, if they have a janitor that's there, they clock out at 7:30, right, is they can just, hey, I'm gonna close this ticket. Auto time tracking, so if it can get into the time tracking thing, then there's that options too, all the current systems can do it. Basically, just from the facilities point of view, my perspective is this was dropped in their lap and they don't know how to use it. And it looks like it was everything and anything was left open and unrequired or unmitigated. The 83 icons on the faculty's point of view, the forms with no required fields or minimum number of required fields and that stuff. So what I have done is I asked Dan Mitchell to send out the same list of questions to teachers, staff, so I can get from the front end point of view of it. And then just I'm gonna add to these notes to go from there. And, then a recommendation, I've picked out 3 other, companies that do the same type of stuff. One of them is just talk to school dude. My biggest recommendation is gonna be just talk to school dude. Hey, can you come in and just reset the system? We don't need 83 icons, we need 5.
but I still think, and I mean, I understand, like, we should definitely start with them, but I do think that we need someone to come in and help us, like, it's not just about school maintenance, right? Like, we use it
Right.
for other things, and I think we need someone to come in and help us optimize how we wanna use that.
Yeah, absolutely.
To really, cause it sounds, I mean, the software in my business, if we use it, when they come implement it, they help us get it all
Yep.
set up. So it seems like at implementation, there was an issue here, like.
Yeah, so
Whether and a lot of that, I think, in the district comes from, there's not a clear person that owns.
Yep.
You know what I mean, like, no one's, if I'm not trained in that, it's hard for me to know how to implement that. So if it takes a consultant to do that, but it gets us set up properly, and someone properly trained so that we have a process for passing it along, I think
Yeah,
that
you
that's
gotta
worth.
document the training so that when that person's not here anymore, someone else can pick it
Well,
up,
I
because
mean-
that's what happened here,
Well,
right?
and I think
Whoever
Siemens
was
is
originally
reconciled.
trained is no longer here, and there's nobody that knows how to pass it on.
Yeah, and Siemens has all that stuff online, right? Is, so even just basic usage of it is they'll have training videos that you guys, that can be looked at. But I agree with you, Matt, is that by reset the system, I'm saying, all right, stop. We're gonna implement the system, and now we're gonna do it for what works for the system. So, and that's why I'm asking the school faculty to give me responses of how they use it, because I understand it's being used for IT as well, it's being used for several other things that the facility side may not see.
Can I also clarify that, remembering how understaffed our facilities folks are, to take a long time out to train in a technological area that may not be a strength for them? I just worry about.
Well, that's why
they're
that's why
away
my
from-
concern is who in the school district is going to be in charge of implementing this? Because I don't think Dave Ross has the bandwidth to be in
No.
charge of implementing this. I think it needs to be implemented, and then it needs to be very clearly like, here it is, this is how you use it, it's easy, right? Like,
But I
you're
think
just
first we
gonna
need to
walk-
define what the this is.
Right. That's exactly my point though, it's like, do we call Siemens and say, come tell us how to use your product? Like, I don't know.
Well,
Yes,
so, that should happen like,
Yeah.
But that, right.
before your conversation, that should have happened.
But typically the way that's going is there's someone who's in charge of,
So who do
seeking
they all
out
report,
these systems,
who
right?
do they
There's-
report into?
right, like someone in our district at some point
That
went out and found this
is
and
gone. The
implemented
position
it.
is gone.
No, but, so the
Who do
facilities
these
team,
people
who do
report
they
into?
inevitably run into?
David Ross.
No, never really goes to the business
It
administrator.
goes business
Do we
administrator.
have a business administrator?
Yes.
Now we do.
Well, that person should be kicking ass. I'm sorry for my friend.
Well, so.
She just started.
So just keep in mind, to truly administer a system like this, right, that's a big ask to take for someone to add to their responsibilities as well. So even for the business admin that they're doing, this is gonna be a big undertaking and big ask.
If I can jump in, sorry.
Sure.
It's just like, I think examining this from what we really needed to do. So for example, the facilities stuff here, like reserving the building and use of that. Honestly, like a form, a paper and pencil format is so much easier than trying to maneuver this type of system. Like, that's how we did it at Bow. We had a form if you used it for school purposes during the school day, and a separate form if you used it outside. And it was managed by one of the admin assistants, and it worked so smoothly. She's now our business manager. So like, it's just like really simple. Like, school dude, I don't know if it's the answer, it may be, but like, I think we're actually asking it to do too much, like really simplify. And I don't mind working with Julie, she's the business administrator, on getting into the weeds on all of this and like on digging it down, because the business administrator is really kind of that point person who facilities ultimately reports to. There's a technology piece to this. If you're bringing in like tech things, that's different. That's Chris, that's the director of technology. I don't mind tackling this with my people and really like zeroing in on all this, because you know, Kim from the town, you know, reached out, I think in my first couple weeks, and wanted to reserve, you know, a classroom after school for a meeting. And I just turned to Renee, I said, all right, where's the form for this, right? Like, just show me the piece of paper, so you just fill it out on Kim's behalf. She's like, oh no, you gotta go to school, dude. And like, I was on it for a half hour and was like, I give up. Like, I can't do this. Yeah, and that's what I was doing. So like,
So, I mean.
I don't mind us
It's
looking
far
at
more
it.
important when you get into the maintenance, because of like tracking when you
I
have to
agree.
do scheduled
Yeah, yeah.
maintenance and the costs associated.
That's what I
what's
mean,
Far
like,
more important.
I think like really kind of zeroing in, like, you know, Bo's not the magical place where everything works perfectly, but we had a system for maintenance, which was different than the system for, not technology, which was different for the system for running, like the operations out of the building. They each had their own point person who kind of looked over it. And if that meant we had slightly different systems and didn't try to encompass it all under the same umbrella, it made it a more efficient model when it was all said and done. So like, we don't mind examining that kind of work. This is the time. We got all these new people into the SAU to like tackle this, you know. It can be part of just like as we do this, because it is super, super clunky. And I'm assuming the feedback Dan's gonna get from the staff is the same thing, because as a staff person, the first time I tried to use it, It was a nightmare, so.
Well, and,
Was that your
and
answer?
I think, honestly, I think just because we're under contract for another 2 years, right, is my thing would be is have the system reset, right?
Yeah,
Reset
definitely.
it for what you guys need.
Yeah,
And just have Siemens come in and say, all right, blow it away, reinstall it.
Yep.
And I want these 5 icons, right? And, or whatever it comes out. But,
Yeah, we almost need them to come in and like re-pitch us on like, here's what we can do,
Yep.
and then you guys can decide this, of those things, we only want you to.
yeah,
say.
they need to sit with a small team of us,
Yep.
just like myself and Julie and maybe 1 or 2 other people, and just like, all right, tell us how this thing works now, and then we'll tell you what you need, and then we'll figure it out and re-roll it out to
Yeah.
everybody.
How much does this cost?
I'd have to look it up, I don't know. I mean, if we've agreed to a 2-year contract, that was before I got here, that's fine, then we'll make the best use of it for the next 2 years, and it'll be something we examine, whether it's worth the cost when the contract's up.
So I really don't want this to come off as rude. Going to. Why on earth are we talking about the software that lets his team members do his job?
I think it came up in one of these
Okay,
meetings.
that's why I'm trying to put this all together
Yeah, it's
on
good.
why, like,
It's
if I'm a
good dialogue.
salesperson and I
Yeah.
have a Salesforce database, like,
Yeah.
if there's something that the day-to-day life of the team members at the schools need to do something like,
It came out of the conversation of deferred maintenance and
Yeah.
how do we get it.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we haven't been tracking on the
trying
way.
to put this all
Yeah, here's the
together.
source.
There's a maintenance tracking component of this, which is what we were talking
I got
about
you.
here,
Yeah,
but it
okay.
goes into, we're using it as a district for other things, so we
Gotcha.
couldn't just say, well, we're only gonna look at it from maintenance perspective.
right.
Good on that?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, cool. Do we have any new business items that we need to,
What was,
do you have say anything in your parking lot?
I don't have anything in my parking lot. Ron, I know you had a item that you wanted to bring up last meeting, but we never got around to it. And I
That's
think,
the review of the recommendations I had for GMS, which we, and also we need to talk about the HL Turner report in detail. So obviously can't do that tonight, so.
Well, I think.
I mean,
Can I ask a
if-
question why we
yeah.
need to go into those reports? Like, we have a survey out to figure out what the town wants us to investigate. And whatever it comes back with, if the recommendation is a renovation, we're gonna give that to the school board, who's gonna go out to RFP for someone to come in and scope out a renovation. I don't necessarily need to get into these older reports and what's in there. Like, what does that serve? What purpose does that get us?
And if we do the
Wait.
inside, outside thing, we're gonna get new data, more up-to-date data.
Right.
You know what really upsets me? The school board complained to me because I was raising questions. And I got the answer is, we have all these reports, we have all the information we need. And so we don't need any more reports. And yet we don't even pay attention to the ones that are there.
But we know what's in there already. We
What's in there, Joe? Have you read it?
no, I don't, we've gone over it in this meeting.
Have
Like,
you
we've
read
talked
it?
about- No.
See, you don't know what's in there.
But I don't need what's in there. What do I need that for?
Because it discusses what needs to be done to bring GMS up to a state of good
But I'm not
repair.
making that decision.
Well, who is?
The school board,
Well, why do we need this committee?
to find out what the town wants. That's our job. That's what we were brought here to do.
and to give recommendations to the school board.
We weren't here to, I'm not here to solve the problem once we identify what the town wants the solution to be. Like, that's for the school board to go out to RFP and hire a company to come in and quote whatever it is.
I can't fathom that.
I'm not gonna go to the school board and say, okay, I want you guys to go in there and I want you to fix the ceiling, I want you to fix the HVAC system, don't fix the floor, fix this wall, and that's not what I'm doing. And that's what you're getting after, like, we're not doing it to that level.
Why bother? Are we gonna recommend a new school?
If that's what comes out of this survey, yes, that will be the recommendation, and the school board will go out to RFP for an architect and someone to design a new school to put a price tag on it.
So you think the survey is all we're gonna need to do? All we need to
No,
discuss?
the survey is the first step in what we need to do to find out what people in town support. And then, from there, we need to take what they support, and if the, let's just say hypothetically speaking, that your proposal is what they support by and large, right? Then we need to dig into specifically how we would do repairs only.
Well, you didn't even ask that question in the survey, so you'll never get that out of the survey.
Okay.
It won't come out of the survey.
We have the
The
onsite-
survey is a very first step in the entire process. And I don't know that it's gonna be this committee says, okay, we want you to do X. I think when it gets to the school board's probably gonna look at all 3, or all 5, or whatever it is, and then come to some sort of consensus.
Right, and that's where I
This
look
is
at
an
this.
advisory board to the school. board. We're gathering data, provided to the school board, and the school board will move forward.
So we heard from Barker, and we know what those numbers are, right?
Yeah?
Why don't we spend time and look at what a report that the school board paid for says?
Because it's 7 or 8 years old. There's been work that's already been done. We're likely gonna go out to another company to get us updated information with today's numbers.
I understand, but it'll be November sometime.
Then that's okay. That's okay. We don't have to have something done tomorrow.
So is the expectation that you would do on-site insight from your funds, would that going to warrant?
We haven't really talked about the money piece, but I did think we have some money in one of those.
Yeah, we would have to do a hearing.
We have to
because I think it
do
would
a
come
public
out
hearing
of
if we're
trust
gonna
funds.
use the.
Because the last time when we did the HL Turner report, it was a warrant article. So just the precedent's been set, just curious as to where you were going with that, so just putting that out there.
I think that's a great question, and I think there's differences between the style of reports. This is just my opinion, this is what we're gonna talk about tomorrow, because I think that is one of the questions on what this report is. I see this as this has nothing to do with educational value, where an architectural report factors in some of those educational needs. Like when you look at the HL report, this is strictly capital needs.
Right, but that report is similar to HL Turner, which was a warrant article.
I know,
So-
but I think that HL one,
Mhm.
how I read that is that factors in educational needs. And when you go out to an architect like that, you're implying you're gonna start doing some
So the
like
HL Turner
building
report was
additions.
only mechanical, electrical facilities. It did not address add new classrooms.
Yeah, again, this difference of opinion, and I respect it. When you go to an architect like that, what you're representing is like you're making motions towards like doing some sort of building, whether it's renovating additions, new build, whatever the case may be. Where when you're doing this style report, this is essentially a home inspection, right?
So
that's a
I was
different-
there when they were hired, because I
Yep.
scope sheeted them.
Yep.
They were hired for consult on mechanical systems.
Yep.
So to me, it's just transparency, the way we've done this in the past. I worry that since HL Turner was put out to warrant, if we decide to tap into the trust funds without the greater conversation, we're gonna set ourselves up for trouble down the road. So just being, more trouble, I guess, at this point, but just knowing the precedent and where it was. The last time we did a report, it went to vote. So, and it was less money than this proposal. So I would just caution and be careful about how the school board chooses to proceed.
So we'll bring that concern back to the meeting tomorrow. I know that and I think the initial discussion was if it comes out of the trust fund, that there would be a public hearing, at a minimum, there has to be a public hearing for that.
Yep.
I will bring that back.
Because then you're gonna want to replenish, and I err on the side of being overly cautious is all I would caution you to do.
Okay, going back to the question, I would like to ask that a review within the committee of the HL Turner report be put on the agenda.
To do that, though, I think we would need to bring the facilities people, because after the HL Turner report was issued, we had a meeting with facilities, and they said, we can do these things in-house, these are the things we need to contract out. So there was originally a plan to address a lot of those items, so I'd be interested in how many of those things that were discussed as being handled in-house were actually handled in-house. So how many of them got knocked off the list, I don't know.
Well, if you look at the GMS side of it, practically nothing. Because essentially, the GMS in the HL Turner looked at all, included, I'll read what the major items are. In the GMS report, pavement and base gravels was going to be addressed. Windows on the east and north building should be replaced. There was a number for that. Sprinkler system was going to be added.
Well, we discussed, actually, our recommendation was not to include that. but-
All I'm saying is it did include a number for that. And the north restrooms are not ADA compatible, so there was a number for that.
Did we do that?
No.
Which,
Bathrooms have
The
to be
88,
done.
we have ADA compliant bathrooms.
not all of them though, right?
No.
The interior is going to be all changed over to LED lighting. the auto temp control systems for the HVAC system?
Oh, yeah, well, we knew there was problems with that.
That was all gonna be done?
How does this fit into the big picture?
Just let me finish, please. The air handling system was gonna be done? All the exhaust fans were gonna be done?
But some of
And then the
the,
boilers were gonna be
but
replaced?
some of the air handling stuff may have been done under the ESSER work as part of the COVID funding. So where do we stand? So in some respect, we do actually need to have a reset. Like that was some years ago. It was shelved, but some of it may have been addressed.
And if you look at the LMS side of that, it does the same thing. It talks about replacing the HVAC system. My question, and that amount for doing LMS at the time was $2,800, and that included completely doing the HVAC system, which we just spent close to $10 million doing.
Yeah, no, I have
So
a very
how,
strong opinion on
what I
that.
wanna know is, where did these reports that we had done, how did they get filed into a trash can?
List of the no cost.
That was an
But so
old
my
board-
question here
old
is-
board, though.
Toronto, what is the end goal of going through these reports for you?
The
What
end-
are you hoping to achieve by going through the report?
I want people to understand that what Carl Barker presented is a complete gut of the building and rebuilding it.
Is there anybody here that doesn't understand that?
Okay? Now, H.L. Turner says you don't need to gut the whole building. You can do things in pieces.
So
That report doesn't address educational needs.
I also
Just a minute.
don't know if this is complete. Like, where's the new roof for the elementary school on
It's
this?
not in there because at the time, it didn't need it.
It needs it now.
Well,
Let me tell
just
you.
let me back up and I'll disagree with you because Carl Barker says we don't need to do it right now.
But that was 8 years ago.
I think
No.
the health
No,
inspector was about to
3
tell
months
us that
ago.
we need to make it.
We've had, so we've gone, up- so we have,
But I still, like, it still doesn't answer the question of the ultimate end goal of
The
going through
ultimate
that.
goal is for you to understand.
Who says I don't understand?
Well, apparently you don't, because you don't know what's in the HL report. So
I get that it
therefore,
has lists of costs and things that need to be repaired, like, I don't dispute that, so I don't understand what we're trying to get to here.
the answer is to rehab the GMS building to be used for the foreseeable future costs somewhere in the order of $4 million. It doesn't cost 26.
Okay?
That's the answer.
but we also did have an architect that came in and reviewed that report in depth and had a different opinion on that.
Right.
And that's part of the reason.
And that's
I
your
think-
opinion on the number, that's not a factual number that came from an RFP from a contractor who's actually gonna do the work.
I also think this is very important. We're up for facility renewals this year in this district through the state. We got a health inspector, he was in 2 of the schools today, he's coming to do the 3rd school tomorrow. He said to me as we were walking out, you have to replace that roof on that elementary school, like now. Like it is destroying your school. Now, that's one person's opinion from him doing his health
Is it
inspection
leaking?
today.
And what is the?
Yeah, he says it's leaking all over. Now, we didn't go on the roof, but he just did it from his health inspection
So
standpoint.
I guess the question is
But-
it leaking or are we condensing?
We didn't get into that level of detail, and he was walking out to say
Right.
that.
Okay.
But my point is that you're also gonna have the state come in and look at that building, who might come in with the same thing. Like, you're gonna have all these people come in and hammer that building. I hope you're all prepared for that.
No, I'm not saying the roof doesn't need to be repaired, but I wanna make sure we're repairing it for the, like, if it's leaking clearly. If we're saying there's water on the floor, well, is it the roof? Is it condensation?
But
What
again,
is it?
No, the roof is leaking.
That's not, it's not, any of our jobs is here and split hairs about the costs or what's broken, what's not broken. We're making an ultimate high-level recommendation to the school board to pursue one of these avenues that has to get done via RFP in detail by a contractor who's gonna do this work and can actually price out these costs for real. Not projections, not we think it's gonna cost this much. What does it actually cost to do it? And that's the school board's responsibility once they have a direction. They've asked us to give them some direction. That's our sole goal, is give them direction.
Alright, so we're at time. So, to recap. Why isn't it, oh, I'm on the wrong screen again, man. Jen, you're gonna grab, 8 boxes, 8 collection boxes.
I have 9 listed first. Do we want 9 or 8?
More, always more.
More is better.
Fine, 9 boxes.
We don't use them, we don't use them.
Just gonna find another kid to put your attention to.
Dan,
Just make a box.
Dan, you're gonna make the digital survey live on September 10th. Joe and Denise, you guys are gonna,
My attempt is to send it out to the board so they can actually get a visual of what the digitized copy looks like prior to September 10th.
that works. So
my
Joe
goal.
and Denise, you guys are gonna make time and help getting everything into the same database and stuff and tabulate the results and go from there.
Anyone else wants to join us?
Yep. Matt, you're gonna go to the school board and request a sum of not to exceed of $500 for supplies.
And we're gonna get the, survey approved by the school board.
Yep. Oh, that's right. And get the survey approved by the school board. Hard copies we're gonna print from the schools, if, assuming it's approved by the school board, and do it for the primaries.
How many? Can we put a number on that? Like, and who's printing that? Like, whose action item is that?
I'm digitizing the thing.
I will take care of the photocopies.
And how many do we want?
Towards 1,000, just don't.
1,000, I'll start with a couple.
Well, we're printing just.
200 sounds good.
Let's focus on
If they're running hot at the primary, I can walk in the building and make some more.
I agree. Like, just plan for Tuesday, then we can print more later
How many
for
printing?
others.
200.
I think 200 is a good start.
I agree.
Less
You're
than
not too far from the copier if you need
Yeah,
more.
I can make it work.
Alright. Anything else to action item recap?
We should probably, like, I can coordinate whoever's gonna be there first thing in the morning for a table, an easy up.
Okay.
Can I
So, you put that.
just,
I have folding chairs.
an action item to my action item? Who can I expect the final copy from that I will be digitizing?
I am gonna send it to Joe,
I will send
like
it to you
before I
before
leave
5:30
this
tomorrow.
meeting. And then
Oh, I guess,
with the sign up list, Joe's gonna do the final edits, right?
I'm gonna clean it all up and you'll get the final.
and if the board has edits, Peter?
Pardon
Or
me?
Matt? If the board has edits to the survey, do you,
I think, Matt, we're gonna try not to allow the board to make.
Yeah, no, I don't think the board's gonna.
okay,
Alright.
so I'll wait for,
You're true with my mood, so.
Yeah, we only need one more person to agree with me and Peter. Can we just recap when the next meetings are? I know it's been very
September
confusing.
12th, I believe is the next one.
Next Thursday.
Next week?
Yes.
No.
No, it's
Yes.
a week and a half.
No, it is next week.
It's the 12th.
How did we end up on the 12th?
Because we only had one in August and he got us 3 positions in September and then it goes back to 2 in October.
I don't think it's a bad thing to have one on the 12th, because we can recap what happened on the 10th.
I don't know if you'll have the
Start putting
results by
numbers
then.
Yep.
Well, I mean, we'll have digital
bring-
responses automatically, we won't even have to key
Yep.
those in, and we can see
So
how many.
12th at 5:30.
We'll at least know how many responses we got by then,
Is everyone clear on when the next meeting is?
the 12th.
the 12th.
12th at 5:30 here.
And are we going to
Next week's my
resend an
open house, so-
invite so that it's not all discombobulated?
Joking.
Well,
It's-
actually, that's a great point.
Open house on the next Thursday.
Just text me.
Dan, do we want to revamp the email list? Because I think it's going out to the original, like, 43 people that signed up to do this from the beginning. And do we want to revamp that invite list and email list
There's a lot
to
of
the
dead weight.
people who have been attending?
So, in order to do that, I would need the board to make some sort of rule as to who I would be removing.
I thought there was a rule in the original bylaws.
There's a rule that removes voting rights, it doesn't necessarily remove them from the committee.
So that should be an agenda item for the 12th to review the list?
Yeah, all right, I'll add an agenda item for
I'd
that.
feel uncomfortable, you know,
Can you handle that tomorrow, Peter?
No, this group's gotta make those changes.
And then we can potentially cancel the old invite and just start with a fresh one.
Yes, I think that would be a great idea.
There's a lot of dead wood on here.
Yeah.
I mean
Okay.
that in a good way.
We good to adjourn?
I am good to adjourn.
Somebody make a motion?
Thank you very much.
Peter made a motion,
My salsa.
Second.
and all in favor?
Aye.
Alright.
the reason, just so you know, the reason why I'm nervous is because if we went just on a, we're